Necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into Thursday. It feels like Friday because we had football games tonight, but Thursday edition of Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown on YSNLive.com. Anthony Hartwig with you as always. With me, Ty Bartell. Ty, we have a great show today. We got Chris Emil from Cheney, head football coach over there, joining us at 12:45. John Armini, a Cheney grad, but the coach of LeBray, joining us after him at 1:15. And we still have to finish our Division IV volleyball previews, and we have 4 football games to preview tonight. Going to be a really fun Thursday afternoon.
It's going to be packed, and I mean, we said Thursday is going to be the start of the storm, and here's the storm, folks. It's here.
It's coming. I would say 3 hours it officially starts because Power Hour is coming to you live from Youngstown State, and then right after Power Hour at 5 o'clock. YSN Primetime. We are rolling out our regular season debut of Primetime. We did it for a couple of playoff games last year. Pre-game show live on site at YSU. We're going to pre-game Ursuline versus Bishop Hartley. We're also going to talk about all the other games on the network tonight. It's going to be a fun time. So we own Thursday night from now until kickoff. Don't miss a minute of it.
And I mean, if I'm corrected, unless I stand corrected, I believe the prime time is going to be something that you're going to be catching many times throughout the regular season too. So expect it to be moving around, going to be moving around different teams. But I mean, it's going to be a great show, I think, over in Youngstown State for Ursuline and Bishop Hartley tonight.
Every Thursday night on site, YSN Primetime, 5 o'clock. It's going to be fun. We're kicking it off with live from YSU with the Ursuline versus Bishop Hartley.
And that'll be a great, great game, too. Excited for that one tonight, too. A part of 3 games I think we have on the docket for tonight.
4 games.
4 games on the docket. Excuse me, 4 games on the docket.
Canfield, Poland, Howland versus Niles, Salem versus Crestview, Ursuline versus Bishop Hartley. All 4 on YSNLive.com, and all 4 free of charge. Absolutely free on YSN. And we're doing that as an appreciation of our fans. We put it out on our social media yesterday. Week 1 completely free. Don't have to worry about paying anything. All games on YSNLive.com. No pay-per-view. We're gonna have a fun time.
Yeah, gonna give you a little bit of a taste of what's to come too for the regular season, and it's gonna be exciting.
Before we get into all of that, we have to continue our volleyball previews, and we want to get right on them because we still have a huge half chunk of Division IV to go. We hit the EOAC yesterday with Columbiana and Latonia and Lisbon, and we did United and East Palestine in Division III. We still have to do Southern, I believe, right, Ty? We didn't do Southern yesterday.
I believe Southern is still on the docket, yeah.
So let's finish the EOAC Division IV teams and talk about Southern a little bit.
Yeah, let me bring them up real quick here.
While Ty brings that up, I want to remind everybody that the comments section are live. No matter what platform you are watching on, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, you can comment and we will see it. We will pop it up, and it will be great to hear from our fans. Also, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning fan line is open, 330-886-0813, the number to call. Either way, we would love to hear from you and your thoughts on the games tonight. your thoughts on the season, your thoughts on really anything. Me and Ty will go wherever you want to go if you call us or comment.
Yeah, and looking at Southern too, this is a team that's going to be very exciting going into this year. 10-11 last year, 4-8 overall within the conference. A very young overall team that was highlighted by a freshman leader in kills on the team by the name of Ashley Schroeds. 259 kills on a 33.5 kill percentage as a freshman. So very impressive numbers for the young lady as she's coming back for her sophomore year. Expect her to be a prevalent part of that Southern offense for the next few years to come. Other players that are coming back too, a couple other freshmen. Hannah Reynolds is another one. Delaney Mellett is another one. Riley Mellett another one. Aaliyah Bach is another one that are coming back. Kaya McCauley coming back for her junior year too as well. And then I believe Ronnie Mayfield is coming back for her senior year. Some players that were lost, Caitlin Exline seniored out last year, as well as Delaney Mellett. I mentioned Delaney Mellett actually as a senior. It's Riley Mellett is the freshman. Delaney is the senior that seniored out last year. Mackenzie Infanti is another one. And then also Cameron Mellett too was another one. So losing 4 seniors, but a lot of these freshmen are now another year older. They're sophomores. And I mean, the biggest one I think too on as far as offense is concerned, Ashley Schroeds too, 259 kills as a freshman. Some very, very impressive numbers to boast what she did in her freshman year, as well as getting back Riley Mellett too, 333 assists, one of your top setters last year, as well as Ronnie Mayfield got some setting time as well. But you get them both back. Mayfield for her senior year, Mellett for her sophomore year. But this is a team that is comprised of a lot of freshmen, Anthony, and it looks like they are building, and they are going to be very, very good here in just a couple years' time.
Yeah, and we all know Ashley Schroeds from basketball, and not just what she did on the volleyball court last year, leading the teams in kills, obviously, with over 200. But then she made a heck of an impact on the basketball team, scoring at a monstrous clip. She had one game where she had over 50 points in that game. Just an impressive freshman that Southern is returning. Exciting on all fronts. And like you said, a very young team that, unlike a lot of other young teams last year, was actually pretty competitive.
Did not struggle, really. Yeah, that was the thing I was going to say. 10-11. And one thing to mention, 4-8 in a very tough EOAC for a team that was comprised of a lot of freshmen. That's not a terrible record for freshmen that are coming in from an 8th grade year competing with that very tough EOAC varsity team. This is a Southern Indians team that I'm going to be very excited to watch this year.
Got a chance to call a Southern game last year against Columbiana. They hit the ball so hard. They are really a strong offense, a lot of velocity. All their hitters have pretty good arm speed. What they struggled with, and what they'll have to kind of get better at this year, is they have a year of experience under their belt, getting into system and giving those good hitters consistent chances in system in their offense to run plays and not be as predictable. Because when you're out of system, usually your setter can only go to one spot, and that's going to make blocking against your team very easy. Southern not the tallest team in the world, so you already have a disadvantage against blockers anyway. You got to get in the system and make blockers think and make blockers work and read your setter. If you're out of system, it makes you predictable. So they have to just get a little bit better at the first touch, first pass, get the ball to their setter. And if they do that, I think this team still overall pretty young, a lot of sophomores, but with a year under their belt, it should be a very fun EOAC for Southern. And they could be a team that takes that next step and really competes at the top of the league.
Especially being 10-11 last year and being right outside of, that winning record, right around 500 to break even for a team that was filled with a bunch of freshmen. Granted, yeah, they had 4 seniors that they lost, but it's another one of those teams that I think they took a bigger step forward than they did backwards. And I think you're going to see that this year. I will venture in to say, and I mean, I'll eat the crow at the end of the season, and I'll be wrong at the end of the season if I am, but I will say I believe that the Southern Indians will have a winning record in volleyball this year. I think being that close as they were last year, 10-11, I think it's easy to say that they are going to be a winning team in volleyball this year.
All they have to do is improve by one win to be a winning team.
Literally just any improvement, and they're there, and I think that they're easily going to be right there.
Let's look at their schedule and some of the teams that will stand in their way of getting that winning season.
Of course, you're going to have to go through a tough EOAC, but they open up the season the 23rd against St. John Central before going to Lisbon. That St. John Central is a home game at Southern, Tuesday is away versus Lisbon. The 24th, the 26th of August is away versus Valley Christian. 30th is away versus Conneton Valley. The 31st is home versus Latonia. Starting in September 2nd is away versus Columbiana. 7th away versus Wellsville. 9th home versus United. 13th away versus Steubenville Catholic Central. 14th away versus East Palestine. 16th home versus Lisbon. 21st home versus Valley Christian. 23rd away versus Latonia. 27th home versus Cheney. 28th home versus Columbiana. 30th home versus Wellsville. 4th home versus St. John Central. 5th is this is October, 4th, starting in October 4th is home versus St. John Central. The 5th is away versus United. 7th home versus East Palestine, and 11th home versus the Youngstown East Bears, Golden Bears, as they come into town to close out the season with Southern on the 11th of October.
I think their biggest game in the EOAC is going to be Columbiana, because I think the Columbiana swept them last year, if I'm not mistaken, both games. Won both games of the regular season. And like I said yesterday, Columbiana losing a lot of that back row defense, which made them hard for Southern to handle last year with the hard hits. Didn't really matter because they were digging up everything. Maybe Southern will be a little bit more prone to get some points in their favor this year and win a couple of those Columbiana games.
Yeah, and you got to remember, away at Columbiana, they got swept 3-0 last year. But when they did play that home set, it was 3-2 in favor of Columbiana, but they took them the 5 cents in the match. Right. So, I mean, this was a team that competed with one of the best, too. The only other thing I would say, you got to look at improvement-wise, they had trouble, too. Lost both times to East Palestine and both times to Wellsville. You're going to have to be competitive against those three teams, East Palestine, Wellsville, Columbiana, this year in the EOAC.
Don't forget about United, too. I mean,
and United, too. Excuse me.
It's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet.
Yeah, there's a few teams you're going to have to be competitive with, but those three teams primarily are three teams you didn't get a win. I don't know about United. I'll have to check on them, but those three teams you didn't get a win in a match against last year. You're going to need to win a couple of those matches this year.
All right, we wanted to wrap up the EOAC and clean up since we left one team off yesterday, but now that we did that, we're going to move our volleyball previews to a little bit later in the show and talk about these football games tonight, because they are so relevant to the moment. And we have to start with, I believe, the most talked about game in the area, Canfield versus Poland, the ultimate rivalry. Everyone's been talking about it, Ty. And it's finally here. It's finally game day. We get to see two great rivals squared up on Pavlansky Field.
Yeah, and I mean, this is sports story writing in the making, and it's doing it itself. And this is the beautiful thing about sports. There's no media outlet pushing this story. There's nothing that needs to push the story. You don't need us to hype it up. If you know anything about either of these two programs, the game has made itself. It's written its own story. It's hyped its own self up. The promos are already out for it. The second we heard week 1 Poland Canfield, we knew what to expect, especially with Pavlansky being with the Bulldogs now. Other Pavlansky being with the Bulldogs.
And I don't know if you saw this, but really it's going to be a really cool moment on the coin toss, because Mama Pavlansky is going to be flipping the coin.
It's probably one of, if not the most, and a lot of people will argue. I know the other team down there in the Canfield area would argue that they have a pretty important week 1 game as well. But I think this week 1 game emotionally might be the most emotional week 1 game we have ever had, or emotional game we have had on YSN in some time, or one of the most of all time, I think, on YSN as a network, because of how just crazy the stars have aligned for this matchup.
Do you think Mrs. Pavlansky will come out with a half and half shirt?
She's going to have to, right? If she's able to get one, or at least a Bulldogs hat and like a Canfield jersey or something, you're going to have to go with 1 and 1, or you're just wearing neutral. You can't wear one team. You're going to have to wear both, or you're going to wear no team at all. You got to go both.
She made a deal with the guys. Like, I will wear Poland for half the season and Canfield for the other half. And whoever got the luck of the draw gets the first half of the season, therefore gets her sport tonight.
The Pavlansky should have made a deal that the loser has to take a picture in the other team's hat or jersey. And that's what they should have done and post that on social media, because that would have had some a lot more weight to it too if you had to see the Canfield Pavlansky in some Bulldog gear.
We talked about it when we talked about this game earlier in our football previews. This is the first time that Canfield and Poland, I believe, I could be proven wrong. If I am, hit me up in the comments. First time they're opening the season against each other as rivals. That's a big moment. We talked about how big game one can be, how hard it can be to bounce back from emotional games. And you have a tough non-conference schedule for both these teams after week one. Man, I'm just like I said it. I'm worried about, not worried, but like the one thing I would worry about the most is how the teams are going to respond to this game, whether they win or lose.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the most important thing. And I think the interesting part to talk about when you talk about that and teams, if they win or lose, how they react, I think it is only fair to look back at last season and just try to compare it to last season a little bit. And looking at the fact that Canfield didn't lose a regular season game. So they didn't have to go through that regular season loss turmoil where, okay, we lost, we need to refocus for the next game. Poland did. Poland got punched in the mouth week one in a very close game against South Range. And what a lot of say, they could have won that game. They got punched in the mouth in another one of those week one matchups that was very close, that could have been anyone's game. And what did Poland do? They came out, they won the next 5, got themselves a great seed in the playoffs because they were able to adjust. Now, I understand new coaching there, Pavlansky's there now, but you got a lot of those same pieces with the Bulldogs back, and there's no changing in that Bulldog style of football that they've played for years now, that you expect them to play much of the same going into this year. I think the Bulldogs and Canfield matchup is going to be very interesting because it's a 2 different styles.
Oh, yes.
With 2 different brothers coaching each team. It's going to be beautiful.
Let's talk about those 2 styles, and let's start with Poland's offense. Straight up power I, sometimes 2 fullbacks back there. They're going to run at you, and a lot of people know that and still can't stop it. I mean, what's Canfield going to have to do to slow down this run game of Poland? You got to imagine they're going to be asking a lot of their defensive line and their linebackers.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, you're going to have to win that line battle. At the very least, defensive line, you're going to have to win some of those battles up front, because if Poland is dominating you on the O-line, they're going to run it all over you all night. Now, do I expect that to happen? No, because I think Canfield does have a good enough defense that they're going to be able to contain with it. But I think the battle in the trenches is definitely going to be one of the ones you're going to have to watch here, because I think it's going to dictate who has firm control of the game throughout.
They did lose a good chunk of their linebacking core. Chris Cameron gone, and he was probably the best linebacker in the area, maybe in the bigger Northeast Ohio. Linebackers are going to be asked a lot. You got to fill the gaps. Do you think Canfield loads the box with 8? I mean, do you think they? I mean, obviously you take the risk when you do that, but Poland is so good at running the ball, you almost have to.
Yeah, and I'm going to be interested to see, because we know that Brock Lowry can air out the ball too. We've seen him do it before. But I think the biggest thing too, I mean, you look at Chris Samaron being a big loss, and I agree with you that it is, but also losing, I think Nick Hugo and Michael Minook too are going to be 2 huge losses, 2 O linemen that are no longer there with Canfield. So that's 2 holes that I think Poland's looking at and saying, this is where we need to attack in the line. And we talk about that battle in the trenches that you're going to need to win or come out victorious at least 50% or a little bit more than 50% of the time, and to win this game. I think that's going to be one of the glaring things that I think Poland as a defense is looking at Canfield's offense saying, this is where we need to attack, because this is where the biggest holes are on their offense.
As strange as it might sound, because of Poland's tempo, and they love to do 3 yards in a cloud of dust, run, and slow the game down. I think this game is going to come down to, can Poland get a couple of big plays or not? Like, can they break one for 50 yards, or can they surprise Canfield with a pass in the right situation and get a guy wide open streaking down the field? I think if an offense like that gets like 2 or 3 big plays in the game, then it's really hard to kind of adjust and say, well, we're just going to straight take off the run, even though they have already blown the top off of our defense for a 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah, and I think, the biggest thing I think is going to be interesting too, going into this game, is the quarterback battle, because I think Jack Fulton and Brock Lowry, you're typically going to say Brock Lowry is going to put up bigger numbers, but Jack Fulton last season, still pretty successful year last year, had 739 plus yards, threw for 739 yards. He rushed for over 400. I mean, did some incredible things as a quarterback last year. I mean, yeah, he didn't fill the box score with yards, but did what he needed to do at his position to win. And you got to remember too, Poland averaged over 330 plus yards per game last season. And that's pretty impressive in of itself through offense. So expect the same from Poland. Yeah, they lost a little bit, but I think the biggest pieces that Poland needs are definitely still there in the Bulldogs organization.
You know what I really like about Fulton? He took care of the ball. He never lost you a game. You know, there were never big turnovers in big situations. Some call it game manager. I think that has become almost a negative stamp to put on a quarterback. I don't think it is, but it's become one. But he is kind of the guy that is going to just go do his job and not lose you games. He's probably not going to, you're not going to say, hey, go win it with your arm, but he's not going to lose you games either.
No, exactly. And you know what? He might even go out there and win it with his arms a couple of games because we don't know. I mean, you don't know. Going into his senior year, threw 700 plus yards, ran for over 400, had a very successful season. And a 10-game season and a 10-game stretch, who's to say he can't throw 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 yards in a season? And I mean, it's possible. Is it the style Poland plays? No. But when push comes to shove, when you need a pass from Fulton, is he good for it? Yeah, I think he's definitely good for a pass when you need it from him. But I think, but the other thing I think is going to be biggest is just, like I said, it's that offensive line game is going to be huge. And it's the battle in the trenches. Who's protecting the quarterback better? Or is Canfield protecting Lowry better? Is Poland protecting Fulton better? Because I think whoever has more time in that pocket to make decisions at the end of the game is going to be the winning team.
And then you'll look at the other side of the ball. We've talked about Canfield's defense, Poland's offense. You flip it. Poland's defense, very big, very physical, built to stop the run. Canfield likes to air it out. Brock Lowry, we know what he does. It's no secret. I think this might be the best passing offense that maybe Poland plays all season.
Yeah, and like we said too, I mean, losing a pair of guys in Michael Minuk and then of course Hugo was huge on Canfield's offensive line. But you got to remember, Poland itself also lost a couple of guys on that offensive line too. Carter Kilgren too was one, and Peyton Marakovich, or not Marakovich, Nate Williams is the other one, Marakovich is another running back that they lost, which is also going to be a huge piece that I wanted to talk about. So you're losing one of your big running backs, you're losing two offensive linemen. That's going to be pretty big holes on Poland's offense too that they need to replace. Can they? Of course they can. They do it all the time with offensive linemen and running backs. But is it going to be enough to stop Canfield? That's going to be the bigger question, I think, going into this game. The biggest thing I think going into Canfield's offense, yeah, they lost a lot. Few offensive linemen. We talked about Samarone too, who played both ways. And Ethan Fletcher too was another one that was just a tremendous athlete. But you're returning both Brock Lowry for his junior year, I believe, and you're returning Michael Crawford, which was a dynamic running back for you last year as well. And I think getting both of them back, as well as getting Toby Smith back too for his senior year on defensive line. And I knew Toby Smith a little bit when he was younger, and I'll tell you what, he went from like this big, like literally this big, because my mom actually, funny story, my mom actually knew Toby Smith when he was younger. So I knew him when he was like 4 or 5. And I've seen pictures of this kid now, and he's like, this dude is amazing. Like he's so fast, he's so big, he's so strong. Yes. He's going to be on that defensive line for Canfield this year. Senior year, he's going to wreak havoc. So you got to watch out, and you got to make sure you have somebody watching him. He was that
6-year-old that you think is already eating eggs and protein shakes because he already looks like he's 13 when he's 6.
He shot up like a freaking tree, man. I mean, starting in high school, I don't know what they started feeding him or what he started drinking in the water there at Canfield, but he certainly bulked up, and I mean, perfect D lineman now for the Cardinals.
Whatever it was, everyone else on the team is saying, I want some of that.
Yeah, honestly. And I mean, this is why this matchup's going to be so good, because you talk about the size too. Both these teams have tremendous size on their lines, both offensively and defensively. And a couple of these guys that you can almost expect to play both ways too. So that's going to make it even more interesting. I'm excited for this.
The key for Canfield, you got to protect Brock Lowry. I mean, you said they have a couple of new holes on the offensive line. And Brock Lowry is a guy that definitely can improvise and make plays with his feet. And actually, he throws pretty well on the run. So Poland's going to have to try to contain him and keep him in the pocket. But then they have some good blitzing linebackers back there for Poland that I've already seen on a couple of tapes on scrimmages. They like those delayed blitzes from the linebacking spots. It's going to be a confusing night for some new offensive linemen on these delayed blitzes for Poland. And if Christian Colosimo gets through the line, Brock Lowry's going to be in trouble.
Exactly. But I mean, on the flip side, too, you look at Canfield, it's much of the same thing Poland has to worry about on their offense, also losing a couple offensive linemen. And you want to talk about guys like Toby Smith on the defensive line. If Canfield is running a contain and making Fulton throw in the pocket, forcing him to make decisions in the pocket and not break loose and not use his legs that he likes doing, Canfield can dictate the momentum of this game and dictate the pacing of it too.
But here's the key difference between the two teams that are both trying to replace offensive linemen. And you can disagree with this if you want, but I think it's a lot easier to develop run blocking as an offensive lineman than pass protection, because there's a lot more to think about. There's a lot more strategic, there's a lot more work that goes into pass blocking. And I think Poland's offensive linemen are going to be, obviously they're going to be running a lot more than Canfield does. Run blocking is pretty much just push the line,
Yeah.
Pass protection, you got to move your feet. You got to look at where the blitzers are going to be. It's a lot more cerebral, which isn't a bad thing, but it's also, I feel like Canfield has a bigger checklist when they're saying these new offensive linemen have to do this. Poland's checklist for what they have to do, maybe not as long. Maybe it's a bigger loss for Canfield than Poland on the offensive line.
It could be, and I understand where you're coming from on that, but here's where I'm going to argue with you right back and saying that you got Michael Crawford still coming back for Canfield, and I think that's going to be huge for them too. Brock Lowry is one of the pieces there. Don't get me wrong. That's your quarterback. That's your engine. You have a pretty darn good running back, and don't think Canfield and Coach Pav over there with the Cardinals is afraid to say, hey, we'll run it right down your throats as well.
That's going to be interesting because, do you think Canfield, and especially in the first half, are they going to be a team that says, okay, we know how good Brock Lowry is, but this new offensive lineman, we have to get them comfortable. Let's start with the run and establish the run. And then once our offensive linemen kind of get their feet wet, get a half of football into them, then we'll start airing it out a little bit and stretching this defense.
You might even see him go from running it to Crawford to throwing some check downs to him and making him do passes out of the backfield, get it to him, do some screens to Crawford and let him make up the work just to get him going. I mean, the biggest thing I think in this game too, you are going to have to establish the pass game if you're Canfield, because that is the one glaring advantage you have over this Poland team is you are the better passing team, and you are. Can you get the passes off is the bigger question and stop the Bulldogs from getting in your face.
To your point, the best way to get the pass game going is to establish the run.
Mm-hmm.
They have Michael Crawford back there. They might try to establish the run, but it's going to be – sorry. If Poland gets the ball first, though, and goes on a 8-minute drive, that pressure to score, your possessions start to get smaller and smaller. Are you still going to be as committed to the run game if Poland scores first on a really long drive after getting the ball? You say you want to, you say you'll do it, but in the end of the day, when the other team has a 9-minute drive, scores a touchdown, you're down 7-0, and you got 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter.
And if
all of a sudden, Brock Lowry looks really inviting to start off the game. You know what I'm saying?
He does. And the funny thing is, too, when you're trying to establish the run, you're going to have to go through both of these teams' defensive lines, and both of these teams' defensive lines are pretty good. And it all circles back to what I originally said. It's going to come down to the battles in the trenches, as it usually does whenever you talk Poland Canfield, and it's going to, again, who wins that offensive and defensive line battle is going to win the game. I firmly believe it, because it's all about getting pressure on that quarterback. It's about getting pressure on the runners. It's about just stopping the offense completely. And both these teams have tremendous size on the defensive line and offensive line. Both of them have lost pieces on both sides. And I think it's going to be interesting to see which team adjusts better from the losses that they had last year to this year.
Now, we're not going to make picks on Running Point. Power Hour will have your whole Pick'em show. Ty will be on the Power Hour on Fridays and tonight too, right?
Maybe tonight, Fridays, and most Thursdays. I'm going to try to get on for the Pick'em, but I will be sending my picks in if I don't make it.
We're not going to have Ty pick twice, and of course we're going to be the show to dive into the matchups. That way you can go into Power Hour, you can pick with the guys, and you can be well informed on what everything's going to go. What I will say, without picking a winner, I would be shocked if this game got above 28 points.
I'm going to say, I'll give you a little bit of a preview. I have a winner that I have picked in mind. Not going to say it on the show, obviously, but it was like 53 to 47% is where I'm at. Like, it is so close.
I thought you were about to say the final score was going to be 53 to 40.
No. That would be crazy. It's like 53, 47% is like where I'm at. Like, I think one team, 53%, 47%. Like, that's how I'm so torn. I'm giving a slight edge to one team. I'm not going to say who.
I thought Ty was coming in with a hot take to start the football season.
That would be insane. Are you kidding? 100 points scored in week 1 of the football season.
Throw defense out the window with 53, 47.
53. That would be one of the greatest games in high school history. I think if we opened week 1, 53 to 47.
Both these coaches would be really upset with their defenses
because we just talk about the defensive line.
They hang their head on defense, and I don't care if you win or lose. I mean, they're going to be looking. If that happens, they're going to be looking at that tape, going, "Man, our defense."
What happened is what they're going to say. That would be one of those anomalies where you would just say it's because the Pavlanskis played each other and nothing is supposed to make sense right now because the stars align. So that's where you would just say it happened because it was supposed to.
What the expletive just happened with this baby?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but it's Poland and Canfield, so it's like you can't even throw it out the window as being impossible.
Nothing is impossible. We know that, but I think the final score, the winner, I would be surprised if the winner got more than 28 points.
I think you will see. Yeah, I was going to say final score. I was thinking either 24-21 or 21-17. I think it's going to be very close. I don't think it's going to be more than like a 4-point, maybe a 3-point game, but I think it's going to be a very, very close game come the final score.
All right. Before we wrap up the preview of that game, give me one player to watch on both sides of the field, like
offense and defense.
Offense, like no, this Poland and Canfield. One player to watch on both teams for you tonight.
For me, for Canfield, I think. See, this one is hard because Brock Lowry's a popular pick, but for me, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna say it's gonna be. It's gonna come down to. I think it's gonna come down to defense. So I'm gonna say you're gonna go with one of your defensive leaders. I'm gonna say Toby Smith too. And I mean, talking about him. And talking about what he's been able to do on defense and him being that senior on that defensive line. You talk about that one lone senior, and I don't know how many seniors they have on Poland's offensive line coming back this year, but you're talking seniority on defensive line. You might have seniority over the entire line both ways in general. You're one of the oldest guys that's going to be in the trenches. I'm looking to you for the experience. If I'm on Canfield's side, I'm looking to follow in your lead. And for Toby Smith, it's going to be huge for him because it's going to start and end with him in that defensive line trying to contain Poland, I think, in any way they can, that run game. And trying to just limit it as much as you can to give yourself a chance to win. And I think it's going to come down huge to Toby Smith and the rest of that supporting defensive line. And then, I mean, I don't know for you though, Anthony. I mean, is if you have a different player though in mind that you're looking at for Canfield that you like.
My player is Michael Crawford. It's going to be how much Canfield is able to establish the run game. I think if they become too one-dimensional against this Poland defense, then I don't care what style they run. I do not want to be one-dimensional against Poland. So they have to establish the run, and that's going to fall on Michael Crawford's shoulders. So if Canfield succeeds tonight, it's going to be because he has a good day on the ground.
Looking on the other side, for me, I'm going to go opposite of what I did. I'm going to go offense for Poland, and I'm going to say it's going to be Jack Fulton for this one. And the reason I'm going to say Jack Fulton for this one is going to be everything opposite of what you just said for Canfield, for Michael Crawford, is for Poland and the Bulldogs. He needs to be able to just connect on a few passes. He doesn't need to be throwing the ball 20 plus times a game. Don't get me wrong. But when he does throw the ball, he needs to make Canfield respect to the throw, because if they could throw half of that offense out of the window and don't have to worry or account for one part of the offense, it's going to make things a lot easier for Canfield. So big thing for Fulton is make Canfield respect the throw. Obviously, don't fall in love with something that's not your style of offense, but you need to make the Canfield Cardinals respect the throw, or else they're just going to game plan for the run all night.
My player for Poland is Christian Colosimo. Big guy, got to get to the quarterback, got to contain Brock Lowry, and he can wreck Canfield's offense. So I'm going to say, you went offense on Poland. I'm going defense on Poland. You went defense on Canfield. I went offense. I like how we kind of split it right there 50-50. So I'm going Christian Colosimo for the player to watch for Poland.
Yeah, and we should do that for the future teams too. I'll pick one offense and one defense.
Sometimes it won't work like that. Sometimes it's like when we talk about LeBray, that's going to be so much offense. You're going to talk so much. But LeBray, don't forget that Coach John Armini is coming up at 1:15. Before we get to him, Chris Emil coming up in about 10 minutes. We're going to take a quick break and then get ready for Coach Emil next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sugman here, director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back to the Thursday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. We got a comment from Gerald Earring asking about the matchup between Jackson Milton and Hilltop going on at Toledo University on Saturday morning. And real quick, I mean, props to Jackson Milton for picking up a game and doing whatever it takes to pick up a game. I mean, you're traveling, I believe it's roughly 4 hours to Toledo from here.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So whatever, the Captain America-ing it, whatever it takes, to get 10 games in. Jackson Milton picked up. They didn't care how far they went, and we talked to Coach Brode right after they lost that game against Chalker, and he said we don't care if we travel, we're doing whatever it takes, and they backed it up because they're going all the way to Toledo on Saturday morning. We'll have more on that matchup tomorrow as part of our huge football preview, huge slate of games tomorrow, and then rounding off with Jackson Milton on Saturday.
Yeah, and I mean, don't worry, we will be previewing that game too. We'll talk about those games as we will every game. We'll even have picks on Power Hour probably tomorrow because it is a Saturday game. But I do love this. I love the fact that they found a game to get scheduled. And you know what? It's a tough travel, but I think it's good for them. We mentioned that in the preview. I think it's going to be a good travel for them. Get them ready for playoffs if they're going to make a playoff run. And you know what? They get to play in a very cool venue at the University of Toledo too. So, I mean, on top of all that, that's pretty cool. It just sucks you have to drive, but hey, it's going to be a high school memory that you're going to take for the rest of your life.
Ty, look at this. You want to become famous?
Oh my God. All the time.
We get this a lot, and I just wanted to put it up once just to have some fun. We get the Twitch comments that are trying to get you to, go to buy followers. And it's like, it's just fun. I want to be famous.
You want to be famous?
I want to be famous. What's that song? I want to be a millionaire so freaking bad. Oh man, you know who else is trying? Well, not trying to. He's famous in the area for sure. Chris Amell. We get ready for his approach on the show. He'll be joining us at 12:45. Cheney with a big matchup with Fitch. You'll be able to call that game. How excited are you to kind of talk to Coach Amell and see where Cheney's at leading into this game with Fitch?
Super excited. And you know what? I've talked with Coach Amell in the past too and had some pretty good discussions with him. And I really like what he's doing over there with Cheney as a program. And I really like him as a coach overall. I think one of the best, mentors for young men in the area. I think it's going to be he's a great coach. And I think it's going to be a great matchup because I think Cheney is, if not one of the most underestimated team, I think, in the area. I think a lot of people go off a solely record last year and don't actually look and read between the lines of what Cheney actually did in those games. But watch the basketball team for them and know that they have some pretty darn good athletes over there in Cheney. And I think the football team is going to make all kinds of noise this year. And everyone just needs to pay attention because they're ready to make a run, I think.
DJ led us into Running Point with a wonderful interview with TJ Parker. His episode 1 of Coach's Corner went live right before Running Point. If you missed that, you can go back and check that out later after you watch Chris Amell's running interview, and then you'll be squared away for that matchup between Fitch and Cheney.
Happy we were able to get Coach Parker on with somebody with YSN as our proud owner was able to take the bull by the horns and go get a big interview for us before a Friday game on short time notice too. We were able to get a huge interview before Friday.
They're Westminster guys, so they have this connection that we'll never have, and that's okay. It's whatever.
Hey, we let them have their connection. Important thing is we got a huge interview, and we're going to talk with Coach Emil now about this game too. So we get to hear both sides of the story a little bit. It's going to be exciting for Friday.
And it just like this morning we also released the South Range with Dan Yeagley. DJ had a great conversation with him. Steve Leslie, our GM, had a great conversation with Mike Pavlansky from Canfield. Episode 2 of his Coach's Corner went up. And it's just this, like, the calm before the storm, everything's going to start popping up. We are loaded with content. We still are posting our football previews that we did here on Running Point, individual teams. We got almost the whole MVAC Great Tier up yesterday, along with the whole NE8. We're going to continue to post as many of those as we can before Friday night. We're running with like chickens with our heads cut off, trying to get all this content up. We have plenty of Coaches' Corners still to be posted. Just you better keep an eye on ysnlive.com, the website, because if you miss something, it won't be on that homepage for long.
Yeah, keep an eye on ysnlive.com. And if you do miss something, head over to our YouTube page over at YSN Live too on their YouTube page. You can look too. I was on our YouTube page last night, or this morning, I should say, around 3 a.m. and I saw lists of football previews coming down. So I mean, we've squared away so many football previews. We're going to get the rest of those out. Then we're going to start working on getting the volleyball ones that we've been doing. So much content coming up for YSN, and your school is definitely going to be represented if they are under the YSN banner. So keep an eye out.
Just be patient, for the love of God.
It's a crazy time, but we are getting them out.
We are pushing them as fast as we humanly possible. We have, I believe, 23 football previews up. Going to get as many of them up before Friday night as we possibly can.
And I mean, also too, and if you just can't wait for those previews to get up, all the archives of Running Point are available too.
Right. You can go watch past episodes of Running Point. But now we do have Coach Emil joining us on Running Point, as we're going to let him in here. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Ty talked a little bit about Cheney and last season. Talk about some of the things that you saw from your team last year that maybe go past the win-loss record that make you really excited about what you have coming back this fall.
Just the way we competed week in and week out. Last year with COVID really hurt us. We couldn't be in the weight room for that entire year, the spring, the summer, anything. So we lost a year at the weight room, which for any program is big. We lost a week and a half of practice due to COVID testing, being on the safe side and those kind of things, and just still being able to go out and compete. Week one really didn't show who we were. And then from there on out, whether it was Fitch, Canfield, Highland, those games, we were in the lead at halftime. And I think just the weight room time and those things just kind of got to us because those teams just wore us down in the second half.
Looking at this season, we talked about last year the COVID issues and everything, and that brought up issues practicing. Talk about this year compared to last year and the practice schedules, how everything has gone in the offseason, and how much easier it's been this year compared to last year.
It's been a lot easier. We're fortunate with COVID that it kind of, I don't want to say passed, but we were able to get back to some normal routines, and the thing that's big for our program and our boys is just having that consistency, so setting that practice schedule, which has been the same since we started in June, and just being able to work. They know when they need to be here. Parents know when they need to be at practice, and guys have really worked hard. They worked hard in the weight room. The summer conditioning went great. We had 2 scrimmages that went pretty well. Little banged up, don't have the depth that we want. I'm excited about the season and the guys we have and what's the.
And we know from other sports, you guys have straight up athletes. I mean, talk about what kind of advantage it is to have such amazing athletes on the roster.
Just having the athletes that we have. I mean, it makes life easier at. I mean, they're just able to do things that can't be coached. You're able to put them in positions that they may not normally play. We have guys being recruited for positions that they don't play, but they're just so athletic and gifted that they're able to just go out there, play football, and get it done. so that makes it intriguing at times and an advantage for us because we can kind of put different positions, that we may have matchup problems. If not, and sometimes, it can be difficult. As a coach, you got to be able to pull in the reins and make sure you're not giving them too much and confusing them. I mean, it can be a blessing and a curse, but for us right now, it's truly a blessing to have to be able to do all the different things that we want to do.
What was the biggest thing you improved on from last year?
I think the biggest thing for us from last year to this year on the offensive side of the ball was going to be our line play. And with that, just being more consistent. We have a good offensive line. We're going to be young this year. We have like 3 sophomores starting, but just being consistent. We played great for 2 quarters, and then like for a quarter and a half, it just looked like we never played football before, or it might be an entire quarter. And it's just getting consistency. On a defense, all is just to continue to work and as a unit. We had some great players last year. Defense kept us in a lot of games. We struggled. Keep building on that. I think defensively, I hope we've seen that we're probably a little further ahead than we've been in the past, and hopefully that gets us over to week 1.
We looked at your schedule with our football previews, and it's a tough schedule that you guys have put together. Talk about the challenges ahead and how excited you are to face the teams that you do this year.
It's very exciting. For one, being at Mooney as long as I was, you really didn't get the local rivalries. When the Still Valley, when I played, you had Warren Hardens and the Boardmans and the Fitches of the world that played. And then you kind of lose those guys when they join the Federal League. But just all the different local teams, so for that is good because, our guys know the kids that they're playing against. So, you're back to the bragging rights and you're back to having a little too much pride to go out there and get beat up on by, whether it's relatives or friends or neighbors or, whatever it is, guys you play Pee Wee football with. But it's a challenge, it's not something that you can weeks that you guys have, something where 1 week you can be really up for a game and the next week, you can kind of be even keel and kind of just fight through a game. I mean, it's a gauntlet, and we're going to have to be ready to perform week in and week out. I'm not caught up in the records and the new face. Everybody we play have proven legitimate programs, and that's what we're trying to build here. So until we get to that point where we have a program that's in place and guys know what to do when they get here all the time, all the guys, it's going to be a challenge, playing the Ursulines, the Mooners, the Boardmans, the Fitches, the Warren Hardings, Canfield. It's going to be a challenge, but we're ready for it.
You talk about your time at Mooney, and I know your playing time under Coach Butchie and how close of a relationship you two had when you were playing with Mooney, Coach. So I guess my question is there any aspects from Coach Butchie's style of coaching that you're utilizing and instilling in Cheney football?
Yeah. The big thing he taught was the fundamentals, the technique, just learning how to do the little things, and trying to get, our boys to understand that the little things are what make football teams great. Not always the, everybody sees the long touchdown runs or the passes, but it's just all the little things that happen during those plays that people don't realize. And that was something that he always harped on. It was just technique, and we worked it, 4 hours a day, and the other thing I got from him and I use here is, he coached hard. He was going to be on you. He was going to hold you accountable. But, he loved us harder, and look out for us, and he was going to take care of us. He get on your behind, but, at the same time, he's going to pat you on the back when you do what you're supposed to do. He's not just going to beat you up when you're down and leave you there. So he was a coach that everybody wanted to play for, through a brick wall for him, and I'm just trying to same mentality here.
Talk about some of the leaders that you're going to lean on this year to lead this team throughout the season.
We have quite a few. Our captains this year are Jason Hewlett, who's a junior. Jason's just tremendous athlete. I would put him up against anybody in the state right now, as far as being all around one of the best players in the entire state of Ohio. You have J.R. Tellington, who been playing. Since we started. He's been playing varsity since we've had varsity. He's a wrestler and a rugby player and just hard-nosed. And those two are probably our biggest vocal players. They're to get in your face and challenge you and verbally, hobo. Juwan Freeman is another one that is verbal, and his work ethic is unreal. Just to see him transform from last year and even the beginning of this year to where he is now is a testament to him and how hard he's worked and just getting his mind right for everything. And then you have the silent leaders in Clive Wilson and Willis Williams, Javante, we call him Russell, Javant. But they're two guys that they just go out and work. They don't say much, but you just see the effort and you see what they do. And Russell, as we call him, he's a jack of all trades. He does a little bit of everything. Every defensive line, he'll play some fullback, some tight end, split out as a receiver. Very unselfish, and those are the guys that our team has been looking up to.
Preview this week 1 matchup with the Falcons for me, because I know I'm excited about it. I love both of these programs so much, and I'm close with both of these programs. So preview the matchup a little bit for me and talk to me, give me your thoughts on the old week 1 matchup with Fitch being back.
I think it's good for the area, for the community. Youngstown is a big football city. Caller, hard-nosed, hard-working people, and I think you with these two programs. As far as what Fitch does this year, we're not very familiar. There's no film exchange, and I guess that's a personal thing on their end, which we're fine with. So we watched film last year, and we're ready and preparing to do what we do. It's just going to be fun. They got quite a few guys from the city of Youngstown, guys that some of our boys went to school with, junior high, elementary school, played football with, until last year in junior high before they go to Offseason. So, just that rivalry and that, those feelings and just kind of wanting to beat your friends and all that stuff. I mean, it's great to have it back.
Talk a little bit about your coaching staff. We know head coaches get all the limelight, get all the interviews, obviously, but they wouldn't be anywhere without their staff and the people that support them. So talk about the coaches you have under you and how much they bring to the program.
Yeah, I mean, our coaches mean everything to the program. One thing I tell our coaches and I tell our boys all the time is there's a person bigger in this program, and that's including myself. On the offensive side of the ball, you have Matt Garcher, who coached for a couple years, took a year off and came back and is coaching quarterbacks and really has Jason ready to play. We have Seth Ladd, who had no John, and then Jason, stepped in for him. And then with this being Jason's first full year of getting all of his reps and drills and individual quarterback has really helped, and the coach has done that. Tyler Thompson is a Cheney grad. He's coaching our receivers. We have some good weapons on the outside. So that's going to be offensive line. Rogers. Tyrell played for me at Mooney. This is his third year coach. He's a freshman coach. Excuse me. Running back coach is Carrington Griffin. Carrington was well over 1,000-yard rusher when I coached at Mooney. He was on that 09 team with Braylon Hurd and all those guys, and he was just a tremendous athlete that just couldn't wait to get back into coaching. And I've been trying to get him for a couple years, and just his schedule wouldn't allow it, but it finally did. So we were lucky to get him. On the defense side of the ball, you have Chuck Hares, who's doing the defensive ends and has done a tremendous job. When you see, the offers that Clive Wilson has, the offers that J.R. Tellington has, and guys came in raw. Clive didn't play football until 10th grade. So to see the growth in those two guys, a testament to Chuck Brandon Dotson is our D tackles coach, and when you're in the trench, you got to be a tough guy, and he always has our guys ready to go and ready to play. Our linebackers are Johnson and Jason Hewlett, and they're just both great coaches, getting guys ready. We're linebacker position, but they've really coached hard and got these reps and ready to play. And then in the secondary, you have John Kopp, who this is his first year coaching. He's another one that played for me at Mooney, but his dad has been a head coach at Fitch, and he coached me at Mooney when I played. So it's in his bloodline to be a coach. So we have those guys are ready to go, and they got our guys ready.
Talk to me a little bit too, Coach, about the community involvement with the program and how heavily they've been involved, and how much it means to the West Side to have the Cheney football program be back and prevalent again.
Yeah, old school. I'm the kind of guy where I believe it takes a village to be there for kids, and we've been very fortunate. Whether it's been families from Mooney, whether I'm not from Cheney like Brad Smith, or just family members that have really been involved. Brad was here all of June, and he came to practice every day of June. He worked with Jason as well at quarterback. He will run some routes, a little bit of running here and there, but just to have him here and have that presence, as a coach, as an alumni, and guys can see that NFL player and know that, he came from the same streets that they grew up in, growing up in, and he went to the same high school that they're in now. Is really that community involvement has really helped. Even just little things like being able to eat every day after practice, and that was, Maurice Claret, just kind of back to the community, giving back to the city, and he always says he wouldn't have what he has without the city of Youngstown. So any chance he can give back, he will, and he provided us with a caterer who catered meals every day after practice during 2 days, Monday through Saturday, for these guys to eat. So I mean that's been great, and then we have teachers and guidance counselors and school counselors, parents, everybody just kind of pitches in and helps, and you just start to see when we go out to different places, actually the Palms Cafe, Dubik's is a well-known place on the West Side establishment, and you get a lot of former alumni and just West Siders, and you go down there, and that's all they talk about is just Cheney football being back, and the things that we're doing, and and everything that the Browns have done for us. Even this year with going up to Hewlett, we're one of a handful of schools that were invited to come up and get stuff that we may need for practice. So we got spikes and practice pants and practice jerseys and everything. Tennis shoes and winter clothes and T-shirts, just things that we can pass out to our boys, and just kind of, I don't want to say be their little team, but they've really been looking out for us for the past few years, and it's been great.
When you talk about game days coming back tomorrow, what's your game day routine? What kind of things do you go through on game day yourself?
A lot of nerves. One thing I do not do is sleep. I've been like this since I played Pee Wee football. I sleep well at night. I get 5 in the morning, just get out of bed at 5 in the morning, and just kind of pace and walk around, and then from there, it's a little different here. I've all the equipment managers and things like myself and other coaches, we come and we just kind of get things ready for the game. The uniforms and making sure we have everything needed, game balls and towels and headsets and cameras, and just kind of get all that stuff ready, and then we have a team meal together. And then just rolling right into everything with team meetings and walkthroughs and special team meetings, and then heading for the game. But for me, really no same routine besides the fact that I can't sleep, and I just kind of walk around. I usually don't eat, nervous throughout the day, and after the game is over, then it's kind of, get ready for films and next week.
Coach, my final question for you too. I know there's a lot of big matchups in the area week one. There's Canfield, Poland, there's South Range and Springfield. But I've been pushing Fitch and Cheney for quite some time. I know I'll be there Friday night, but tell all of our viewers why Fitch is going to be the place to be to see Cheney Fitch Friday night.
I think it's the place to be because, like I said, the rivalry, is back. You have 2 story programs that's been around. You have the history and the tradition of both schools. You have a that has been playing for many years, and then Cheney Lee, and they sports, in 2010, and now you're looking at 11 years later. You have the programs up and running again, and you're just going to have good athletes on both sides of the ball. Staffs on field. I'm hoping we have a jam-packed house, but it's different. It's different when you play football, in Youngstown. I'm not taking away from, the South Range, Springfields, or, anything like that. When I was in school, the Still Valley, and it was the City Series, and those were the games. While you would catch a Mooney Camel game that Sean Patton played, and so these kind of games, have meant a lot to communities, and to have it back, right now, just with COVID finally ending, and just with some of the tough times going on in Young, I think this is something a lot of people in our city are looking forward to. A lot of people in our city are supporting us and backing us. And I think this is a win that's needed for our city.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Good luck tomorrow night, and we will talk to you again real soon. That was Chris Mill, head coach of the Cheney Cowboys, who are gearing up for what promises to be a fantastic matchup. Old school rivals, like he said, back in the day, these Steel Valley teams, it was the City Series, it was the place to be. And tomorrow you'll be there, and a lot of Rowdy fans will be there as well, gearing up for Fitch versus Cheney.
If you saw that look in Coach's eye and the way he ended that interview saying this is a win we need for the city, that tells you how important this game is and how important he's taking it. And there's something telling me that he's ready, and the Falcons need to be ready to come Friday night. And I know they will, because I know how good Coach Parker gets that program. And these are just 2 coaches that I love. And I absolutely love what Coach Mill has done with that Cheney program. And I love, and like I said too, previewing him before he came on, a tremendous mentor for these young men. And you could see why, and how serious he takes the program, and how serious he takes the community aspect, being involved into a program. And that's why Cheney, in just a few short years' time, has been a prevalent program that a lot of kids in the Youngstown area have bought into. And it's definitely with the help of Coach Mill's efforts with the Cowboys. So definitely exciting for a Friday night matchup. I'm glad this series is back, and I don't think you could ask for 2 better coaching staffs and 2 better coaches and 2 better programs to match up week 1.
Coming up next on Running Point, we will talk to another football coach in the area that is having a very promising outlook for 2021. John Armini, head coach of the LeBray Vikings, joins us next. We'll take a quick time out. Be back in a minute on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
"60 years ago, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods began with 3 siblings, a hand-set sawmill, and a few local orders. And while business has certainly changed over the years, what has not are our principles of hard work, craftsmanship, and commitment to quality. At Baird Brothers, we're proud to put our name on the products we create, from moldings and doors to flooring and lumber. Thank you for 60 great years. We look forward to 60 more. Baird Brothers, for the place you love."
We are there in your community. Small business owners, mechanics, police officers, homemakers. And we are there serving our nation in the Air Force Reserve. When medical emergencies arise, in cybersecurity, when natural disasters happen, we are there in space. We are Reserve Citizen Airmen, and we are there with over 180 different jobs to serve your country. Air Force Reserve.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of Wrs Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention, current lessees of most makes and models. Tri-State Ford has a special offer for you. Come to Tri-State Ford, turn in your lease early, and get up to $2,500 in trade equity toward a new Ford or pre-owned vehicle. Plus, our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Early lease turn-in for most makes and models with up to $2,500 trade equity.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to Running Point Thursday edition, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside my buddy Ty Bartell, and we just had a wonderful conversation with Chris Emil of Cheney Football, and we are on the heels of a conversation with John Armini, the head coach of the LeBray Vikings. And when you talk about LeBray, offense, more offense, please. And if you're done with that, give us more offense. It's like an buffet.
LeBray is going to be another one of those exciting teams, I think, looking into this year. I mean, we previewed them too, returning a decent amount from last year. So I think they're good. They're going to be one of those, like you said, Anthony, a very high-powered offense, and I think they're going to be very fun to watch this year.
Want to remind everybody that's tuning in while that interview is going on, if you have a question for Coach Armini, don't be afraid to put it in the comment section. We can put it up. Coach Armini can see it. He can answer it. And it would be great to kind of hear from the fans and get an interaction from that. So don't be afraid to put up a comment, whatever platform you're watching on, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Make sure you comment. Also, MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning phone line 330-886-0813. That is where to reach us. But we'd love to hear from our fans. We got a lot of fans excited about tonight, a lot of fans excited about tomorrow night as well. Football season is finally back in the air. You can smell it. That fresh cut grass kind of smells different on a Friday night in fall.
The most exciting thing too with LeBray football, thinking about them, is again we previewed them, but I remember too 4 returning senior offensive linemen this year for the Vikings.
Protecting Aidan Stevens, who is
Exactly gonna be absolute the show is what it should be called over there in LeBray, because it is going to be a show of offense with everything they got. Oh my goodness.
We have to come up with I haven't watched the show. I should watch the Vikings, the History Channel show.
You need because they need a name. That offense needs a name. Because like the defense, like Seattle when they had the Legion of Boom, this offense needs a name.
We need to dive into that.
Maybe Coach Armini has a name for his offense. You never know.
That might be a question we have to ask. Like, if
I want a great answer if he does. I hope it's a great answer.
You had to name your offense as a collective whole.
Yeah. If you were giving your offense a nickname, that's got to be one of the questions. If you were giving the offense a nickname, what's the nickname you'd give it? Because they are a show, man. When they come into town, you know you're getting a show on offense.
That Brookfield game last year, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I mean, Jeff Bezos can attest to that.
Jeff almost lost his lungs. Like
Jeff Bezos with some of the greatest calls during that game too. Brookfield and LeBray in the playoffs last year. And what a fantastic game. Maybe I'd say the game of the playoffs. Hard pressed though, because that Springfield game was pretty good. Did make it to the championship game. That was pretty good as well.
Oh, you mean the trick play of the 30?
The trick play was, yeah, that was really good too. But I don't know, that LeBray and Brookfield game was really good. It was just, I'm going to be a bias though, because it was 2 YSN schools competing against each other. Where Springfield, it was just Springfield. We were happy the Tigers got the win, but getting Brookfield and LeBray too. That was a great playoff game between 2 YSN schools.
LeBray will be fine with that because they won the game, so they're okay with remembering it well. Brookfield's probably like, nah, let's just stay away from there.
And they are on the docket again, too, for this season. So it's going to be exciting.
It's going to be exciting. You know, we're going to talk to Coach Armini about the conference in general, adding Garfield to that MVAC. What do you expect from that? The non-conference schedule for LeBray is pretty bolstered. It's going to be a really fun conversation with Coach Armini. As he pops in right now, we'll bring him in the show. Coach Armini from the LeBray Vikings. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
And we were talking about you guys before you came on. Such an exciting offensive unit that you guys have, returning 4 offensive linemen. Everyone knows about the weapons you have. Talk about how excited you are for this season. It is here. You have one more sleep until game day.
Yeah, definitely full of anticipation here. You know, it's been a pretty smooth off season and pretty smooth summer with all the experience we have coming back too, which has made it rather enjoyable. But you know, obviously the guys that you guys are probably discussing there with Aidan Stevens running the show, having a 3-year starting quarterback, one with his level of talent, has certainly made this this preseason enjoyable, and he's got a lot of weapons at his disposal too. So things right now are clicking as best as can be expected. We're really anxious to see it on Friday Night Lights.
Since you brought him up, can we talk about Aidan Stevens just a little bit more? I mean, he commits to Yale, which obviously you got to be doing work in the classroom as well to be committed to that school. Talk about his work ethic and his leadership and his ability to not just excel on the football field, but also excel off the football field in the classroom.
You know, I think you hit the nail on the head with how well-rounded of a young man he is. You know, he comes from really good stock too. You know, his dad, Tony, has been an assistant coach of mine for a decade. Played at Kent State, had a tryout with the Cleveland Browns. So obviously that athletic ability is genetic. He has an older brother playing tight end at Buffalo. So they have quite a good gene pool to pull from there. But in the classroom, he just attacks the classroom the same way he attacks the football field or the basketball court or even the track. He just works really, really hard to maximize his ability and his potential. And kids like him don't come around very often. We are certainly lucky and blessed to have him as part of our roster.
With all the experience coming back, when you had your postseason evaluation, what were some things that you pointed out as a coaching staff that you wanted to improve on this summer before week one came around?
I think that last year when we kind of hit our stride, when the young guys got experienced and we got healthy, we were pretty banged up there for a while early in the year, when we played Brookfield and Crestview and didn't really put our best foot forward. When that experience and we got healthy, we kind of hit the ground running there and we started racking up some good offensive numbers. The one thing I thought this summer, and especially during the offseason, one of the things we tried to address is getting back to that LeBray football grit. Stopping the run. We've been running the football rather well the last few years, but we kind of, 19, we weren't too bad defensively, but I think last year in 20, we struggled to stop the run. So we moved some guys' positions around. We got bigger and stronger on the defensive line. We moved some skill guys to that linebacking spot, so we can attack a little bit more. And I think that's the one thing this summer that we really tried to focus on was making sure that we were not outflanked, not out leveraged, and that we attacked the run.
Looking at last season too, Coach, I mean, you talk about that Brookfield game where you guys were banged up a little bit, suffered that loss, but there was tremendous growth from that game to the playoff game where you guys ultimately ended up winning that thriller 55-54 fashion game. That growth there was huge. Talk to me about that growth that you saw from the team from that game to that game and the growth you've seen now from that playoff game to right before game one of this season.
I think that's just kids and coaches buying into the process. That can't be lip service. You either believe in what you're doing or you don't. And if you don't believe it, you can't fake it in this game. For as long as I can remember, as a player, as a coach for the last 20 years, I truly, honestly believe in the process. You're not supposed to play your best game August 20th. You're supposed to play it, November 20th. And I think that our kids really believe that. We zero in each week on things that we really want to excel at. And at the end of it, when we watch film Saturday mornings, we pick out things we want to improve upon, and we did that every single week last year. And you saw us like inching towards, the product that we want to be. We didn't get there. There were still lots of plays that we left on the field against Wycliffe in that round 3 playoff game, which is kind of what I think has pushed those guys in the offseason. They see what they're capable of, but they also understand what they have to do to get there.
We talked about Aidan. Obviously, he's going to be a big leader for the team. Who are some other guys that you're going to lean on their leadership and their ability to lead during this whole season? It's going to be a long one, 10 games now.
Yeah, we've been saying all summer long, we kind of have a 3-headed monster on offense with Aidan, Trayvon Drake, and Devin Carter. Devin happens to be our all-time leading rusher here at LeBray, and we've had some really talented Division I running backs over the years, so that's saying something. We really lean on those guys, but I think what I've seen is an emergence of a dominating line. They have the ingredients necessary to do that. They're not quite where we want them to be either. We still got some work to do there, but we have 4 returning starters on the offensive line: Adam and Noah Petrie, Zayden Flanagan, and Cam Rabel, all seniors. They're all a really tight-knit group. They set a bunch of weight room records here, which is impressive in itself. So I think that we're really going to lean on those guys up front, and a lot of our guys play both ways. I think one of the wild cards, this year for us is going to be a kid named Steven Hemberger. He made first team All-League as a freshman last year, 6 foot, 210-pound defensive end tight end, and he just plays with his hair on fire. He happens to be a redhead too, so it kind of fits the mold there. But he plays like his head's on fire, and does a really good job. He's kind of our motor defensively. So I think that if we're able to do what we want to do defensively, it will be, in large part due to him.
You talk about wanting to improve the program and looking at those films to try to improve week to week and find those things to improve on. What was the biggest offseason thing you were looking to improve on with the team going into the season?
We wanted these guys to be as invested as possible. I think in 2020 with some of the COVID restrictions and not really knowing whether or not we were going to have a season, literally until a few weeks before in August, having that uncertainty, I don't know that we had the total buy-in that is necessary to have success in football. So from day one, when we started in December, when we were allowed to start, I think we really kind of upped the ante for our guys. We wanted them to really understand all the things that they need to do to be successful. So we made it a lot harder. We tortured them in the weight room for a pretty long time this spring. I'm actually surprised, that most of the, we didn't really lose anybody, which, sometimes is a necessary thing in the off season. These guys really bought in. They worked hard. There were lots of sweat, lots of blood, lots of tears in that weight room. So, and that carried forward to the track this summer. So we really tried to make the ante as high as humanly possible, because we have pretty high goals and aspirations. Expectations around here are always high. And that's no different this year, but especially this year when you have the ingredients necessary to do something special.
Talk to us a little bit about your coaching staff and the coaches you have that are building this program up. And we know that head coaches wouldn't be where they are without the great support system. So talk about your staff and what they bring to the program.
I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I've been telling people for years, when I first got the head coaching job out here, it was difficult to get guys to realize how close LeBray is to everything else. They kind of thought that we were 40 minutes away from everything, and that's really not the case. We're right next to Warren. But when we were able to really get the thing rolling here, in 2015, 2016, we've pretty much kept the same staff intact. And I tell everybody every time I go to the Trumbull County Coaches Association or the Mahoning Valley Coaches Association, there's nothing I like to do more than brag about our kids and our coaches. I am just kind of the manager of it all. I have a great staff, and I think it really starts with the coordinators I have. Joe McConnell's been my offensive coordinator since day one here. So he's been with me for a decade. And Colin Dotson's our defensive coordinator, and he's got, both of those guys are so good at, focusing on the little attention to details necessary for success that rubs off on our kids. So I, can't say enough about those guys. Tony Stevens, Aidan's dad's been with me from the very beginning. My line coaches, Brian Cox, Larry Hoffman, and Marcus McConnell, and I brought in a pretty seasoned vet. Rick Radich has been with us the last 2 years, and Rick coached at JFK for 30 years. Just having that playoff experience, understanding what it takes to win at the state level has been invaluable.
Preview this week one matchup with Lakeview. What are you expecting to see from the Bulldogs, and what can we expect to see from your Vikings?
Night and day with Lakeview. The first moment you put them on film, they look exponentially better than they did last year. And that's a testament to their kids and coaches. Coach Bellino is doing a very good job there. And their kids are buying in, and you can tell. They're excited about football there. We got a chance to watch them on film a little bit last year when they played some of our opponents, and it didn't seem like they had that hunger that they now have in their scrimmages. So that's a testament to them, and we've been working real hard this week to make sure that, we leave no stone unturned, that we don't miss any opportunities here against a very hungry football team. I think they kind of remind me of, some of the teams that we had in 2013 and 2014, where the kids are starting to figure it out. You can tell that their scheme, is rubbing off, and they're finding what they do best. Hopefully they find that week 2 and week 3 and not so much week 1. But I think that, Lakeview, they're doing a fantastic job. So can't say enough about their kids and coaches as well. As far as us, I think people know what they're going to get with us. We're not trying to hide anything. We want to get these guys in space. And if you can tackle them in space, and maybe you have a shot at stopping us. But, we'll take our chances with our guys in space. And I think that what people will see early on this year from us is how many supplemental weapons we have. Guys like Ashton Dunbar and JJ Jethro, Brogan Collins. We got lots of guys that can carry the rock and make catches and make plays. So we want to showcase all those guys so that no one team can focus on shutting one down or not. And then obviously I talked about this a little bit earlier. We want to stop the run. We want to force teams, to go to the air where we have Aidan Stevens back there, and we have some experience, so that's what we want to do. We want to stop the run, and put our guys in space offensively.
I don't want to get your focus too far off of week 1, but you are in a very tough MVAC. Talk about that conference that you play in and the addition of Garfield in that conference, and what excites you about playing in it this year.
I I was just thinking about this the other day. I don't know that the league has been this good top to bottom, during my time here at LeBray. Garfield, exceptional Division V program. We've met them in the playoffs. We played a really good thriller with them back in 2019 where it literally came down to the last possession. Coach Mosier is unbelievable at what he does up there, and they got some talent. They got some talent on the offense and defensive lines, and they have a really good running back coming back. So they're going to present some challenges. We don't have them till week 4, so we, not trying to dig too far into that now, but obviously first glance at them is that it's pretty impressive. And I think that the other team that we always circle on our schedule, something that, I'm pretty sure every kid on our roster knows the date that we play them is Brookfield. Randy Clark has been the best coach in this league since Brookfield came in. He's been doing it for 20 years. You won't find a better coach in the Valley of squeezing every bit of potential out of his kids as Coach Clark does. And they got some dudes back. They got a lot of guys back, especially up front in the trenches. So that LeBray Brookfield game will be a war, in October when we play them.
We were talking about it a little bit before. This offense is so good and so unique that it deserves a nickname. We were wondering from Coach Armini himself, has there been a nickname that he's come up with or that he's heard for this offense that he's liked?
That's an interesting thing, because I'm a football guy and I'm an 80s and 90s guy. If I were to give them something, I would call them the Fun Bunch, like that Washington Redskins group that won the Super Bowl over the Broncos there in the 80s, because they really like to have fun, and they're always doing those back smackers and chest bumps and stuff like that, when they get excited and they start clicking, and those three group of guys, that three-headed monster, they're really tight. They're best friends, they ride to practice every day together, they're hanging out together, so I think that camaraderie too also makes it a little bit more enjoyable for those guys. So, that's a good one. I'd like to, hopefully we can, put some points on the board and make some highlight reels here and give all the media guys something to talk about.
We'll definitely push that hashtag Fun Bunch for you guys on social media every time you score a touchdown. You talked about the camaraderie, and I'm glad you brought it up. Talk about the brotherhood that comes with football and how well your team really mirrors that image of a brotherhood in a tight chemistry team.
It's really important. We try to do as much together as possible, team activities, team trips. We try to make that struggle, shared throughout all processes through the off season and the season. And playing football is difficult. If it was easy, you get more guys doing it. One of the big things that every year, Dana Balish asks is how many guys do you have? Are your trends up or your trends down? Well, it's not going to trend up around here because we make it really hard. And I think in that hard makes it really great. And that's certainly what I grew up with at Youngstown Cheney. And, I have coaches that played, for Coach McDaniels at Warren Harding. I got guys that played for, Coach Angle at Howland. So we all come from a similar thread, cut from the same cloth, where we want to make it difficult because we want to teach these kids some life skills with overcoming obstacles. But the camaraderie is special, I think, when you get a big group. We have a big group of seniors, guys that have been playing together, through Little League and through junior high and now high school. So I think that they've grown around each other, they've matured around each other, and obviously they've shared a lot of highs and some lows. So I think that when you get that common struggle, it really unites kids.
Coach, you got a shout out from Billy McCartney. He'll see you tomorrow. He's going to be on the call for YSN for LeBray. He's become kind of the voice of the Vikings all season.
Yeah, we got some McCartneys on our roster, so we like hearing that last name.
Talk about a little bit of the excitement of a normal, quote unquote, normal season, a normal summer, and what it's going to be like to get these kids back into a routine.
Well, I don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, because it seems as though we got a lot of issues still to confront with COVID and what the new normal is going to look like in school. But it has been pretty nice. Up until a few weeks ago, it's been really nice. Some of the things we kept, like some small group things. We rotate guys in and out of the weight room in smaller groups. We use some of the technology that we leaned on, during the pandemic. But It has been pretty nice. I'm a warrior by nature, though. So every little change to the routine worries me a little bit, concerns me. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm hoping that things go well, and kids don't get sick, and we don't get positive tests, and and all that stuff. So hopefully things keep trending in the right direction.
We just got through talking to Coach Emil of Cheney football program, and we know you being a graduate of Cheney as well. Talk to me a little bit about your experience playing in the Steel Valley Conference, and did you utilize any of that, what you learned playing in the Steel Valley Conference and coaching LeBray now?
A lot of the lessons that I was taught, as a football player at Cheney, I carry with me, and it's really that old adage of being fully invested and taking everything that someone can throw at you and finding a way to find success, and I think that was one of the things that I was taught by Ron Burtis on the West Side. And one thing that I try to instill in my kids is that, you're going to get knocked down in life the same way you get knocked down in football, but you're going to drag yourself, out of the dirt, get back up, put your hand down, and keep battling. And life's difficult. Anyone who's an adult, experiences some struggle, some loss, something tragic. And if you don't have, some of that belief behind it, then unfortunately, you might not dig yourself back out of that hole. So it's been something that I've carried with, and Cheney football went away for a while. And I'm so glad that they brought it back, because I think having two programs in the city allows you to affect more kids. And those kids on the West Side, the South Side, the North Side, the East Side, they need those life skills, to be able to battle obstacles and find success. So I'm glad that it's back. Coach Emil, I think, does a good job. I get a chance to every now and again catch them on TV, and that's certainly a score that I check in the newspaper the next morning. And my colors at LeBray are red and gray. So I always tell everybody, I'm still repping the West Side a little bit. Obviously, different school, but the colors still stayed with me.
Before we let you go, tomorrow is obviously game day. Take us through Coach Armini's game day routine and some of the things that you go through on a Friday.
I'm real reflective. I like to spend some time with my kids if I can. When school gets rolling, that's a little bit more difficult. I have three little ones, 9, 7, and 3. So I like to spend a little time with them, because Friday and Saturday is a pretty jam-packed day, or 2 days for me. So I like to spend some time with my kids, and I like to get real reflective. I like to kind of zero in, listen to some, music that kind of gets me focused, or, watch a movie, or clips of movies that kind of get me focused. And then I like getting here early. I like walking the field. I like going through the game plan, offensively, defensively, special teams, and I like to greet the kids as they come in too, so that they know it's go time. When we get in the locker room, now it's time to get focused. Now it's time to get your stuff on, and get ready to go to war. It's not real complicated, but, I'm a little old school in that I like that focus to really be there.
I don't think there's any doubt, Coach, your experience with coaching the teams you've been with, going from Louisville and now being LeBray. I guess my final question for you, and it's a question I ask pretty much every coach, and I like to just hear the answers, but what is your favorite thing about coaching, especially this LeBray Viking bunch?
My favorite thing about coaching, it's really been my dream to be a head football coach, and not everybody gets to live their dream. It's not possible sometimes for everybody to achieve their dreams. And I'm really lucky in the fact that every day I get to wake up and do what I love to do. So it doesn't really feel like work most of the time. And if there's a young person listening, find something, do something every day that you love to do, and you won't work a day in your life. So that's probably one of the things, and just being able to interact with these kids. Part of that game day routine also is fielding phone calls and text messages and emails and Facebook messages from former players and guys that have coached with us over the years. And just knowing how many guys that have had a positive experience here with us is really heartwarming and really kind of motivates me to go forward.
Coach, one of the things that we love to do is cover LeBray athletics, including your football team. We look forward to following you all season. Good luck tomorrow. And we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. We love it.
Coach Armini of the LeBray Vikings football team, head coach, joining us on this Thursday afternoon on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. So we got an answer, Ty, the fun bunch. We're going to have to push that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they are a group of guys that definitely seem like they enjoy their time on the football field. So I have no qualms with it.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is going to be so fun about LeBray, and he talked about it, the substitute weapons they have, or the secondary weapons they have. Everyone's going to be so focused on Drake and Stevens and Carter. They have other guys that can beat you if you focus too much on them.
Yeah, and they have a very good offensive line that's going to give both Carter and Stevens all the protection that they are going to need, and create the gaps for Carter that he's going to need. I think this is going to be a LeBray offense that's going to be very, very fun to watch, and it's going to be interesting to see what some of those two-way players do on defense, because I think that's the biggest area for LeBray to really improve on. I mean, they could get a little bit better in offense, and if they do, wow. But as far as defense is concerned, yeah, that's just probably the area that they can probably do the most improvement on, and if LeBray improves on defense, and if they improve even a little bit, or if they improve significantly, you better watch out, because this is going to be a very, very tough squad to beat then.
We'll take a break. On the other end, we'll continue our previews of the games tonight. We have 4 on the docket on the network, so don't go anywhere. We'll continue our previews of those next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Hi, everyone. This is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit wrswealthadvisors.com. Good luck, athletes.
Every customer has a story, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well-appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy efficient experts.
Attention, current lessees of most makes and models. Tri-State Ford has a special offer for you. Come to Tri-State Ford, turn in your lease early, and get up to $2,500 in trade equity toward a new Ford or pre-owned vehicle. Plus, our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Early lease turn-in for most makes and models with up to $2,500 trade equity.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State 40 Silverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to Running Point live on YSNLive.com. Thursday edition brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartow. We just had great conversations with both John Armini and Chris Emil of LeBray and Cheney football, respectively. Their games are tomorrow night. We have 4 games on the docket tonight. We already previewed Canfield versus Poland. Let's move on to Crestview and Salem, a matchup of 2 YSN schools in a neutral, well, not a neutral site. It's going to be at Salem. So let's talk about the Quakers and the Rebels squaring off tonight in Salem. Ty, you're muted, but
there we go. But I think this is going to be one of those interesting games because, as we know, both Salem and Crestview, we're not really too sure what to expect from these two teams this year. We know Crestview losing a bit last year, as well as Salem, but this is going to be one of those interesting games, I think, for this year. Just because I don't even know which team, honestly, is going to come out of this one better. Because, I mean, hold on. As I bring up this, I just wanted to bring up the one page I had. I'm trying to find what I had on them. Because I had a page on both of these teams. Let me just try to find it real quick. But this was a Crestview team. There we go. I found my thing. Okay. Yeah, this was a Crestview team too. That was actually really good. And I think the biggest one is getting Anthony Cusick is the biggest one, and Jack Yerke. But we did talk about a lot of the losses they had on that offense, Anthony. And I think that's going to be the most interesting thing going into this game is how effective is that offense after everything lost on not only the offensive line, but in the receiving core and running back core. It's really just kind of Anthony Cusick and a bunch of guys we don't know the names of. We might be knowing the names of them all at the end of the season right now, but right now Anthony Cusick is really the unsung leader there of that offense, and it's going to be up to him to make that whole thing go, I think, against the Quakers.
And I tell you, though, we didn't talk about Jack Yerke a lot last football season. He made his name known during basketball season. He had to step into some rebounding shoes and did a great job. Jack Yerke is going to be a name to know in Crestview's offense, especially in those intermediate pass plays.
I think so as well. And I think what's going to be interesting is what Salem's going to do defensively, and are they going to pressure Cusick right off the gate to force him to make plays, or are they going to force these younger guys that we don't know the names of make plays? I think it's going to be definitely interesting to see what Salem is going to respond with on defense, because defensively they're returning, I believe it was 9 or 10 starters on defense from last year. So they're returning a lot of what they have on defense. It's going to be hard for Cusick to find those holes in a very well-established defense.
Salem is returning a ton on both sides of the ball. And this is an offense. Same quarterback under center. Johnson's there. X-line is still there. It's going to be a handful for Crestview.
I think so as well, because honestly, you look at everything that like you talked about that Salem has. I mean, you talked about X-line at defensive back, Davidson also there, Wolf on defensive line, Jackson Johnson at defensive back. I mean, their secondary is so good, and they have so many. They have a few seniors too on the defensive line, a few on linebacker too. This is a team that has seniors all around. It's a well-balanced defense, and it's going to be very hard, I think, for Crestview to score against this Salem defense that's got a lot older from last year. They did allow just under, I think, 30 points per game defensively. But it's a defense that has a lot more experience from last year, and I think that's going to be the key for Salem is that defense getting after Cusick and forcing him to make plays.
And I apologize earlier. This game is at Crestview, not at Salem. At Crestview. That's a nice turf field over there. And one thing we know about the Rebels, I don't care what the names are, they're always going to be fast. They have one of the best track programs in the area for a reason. They're going to be very speed heavy. They're going to run a lot of jet sweeps to use that speed and get that speed in space. And Salem's going to have to make probably a lot of plays in open space against some people that if you miss can really run far in a really quick amount of time.
I mean, we talk about the quarterback play of both Canfield and Poland with Lowry and such, but we look at the quarterback play of these two, and it's going to be fun as well because Jackson Johnson for quarterbacking for Salem, he's the guy that had all the records too for Salem last year, and 2,800 plus yards and boatload of touchdowns. I think 30 of them last year. So this is going to be two quarterbacks in Cusick and Johnson. That it's going to be a battle, I think, between the quarterbacks. We talked about Canfield Poland. That's a battle between the trenches. I think this is really going to be a battle of quarterback play. The advantage Salem has is they are returning more than what Crestview had. Crestview obviously had a more successful season as far as wins are concerned than Salem did last year, but Salem returning more than Crestview did last year, but they still got the guy manning behind center back in both Cusick and Johnson. So that's going to be the fun names to watch, I think, in the offensive names.
How about this? Coach Cusick coaching, a Cusick under a center. Ron Johnson coaching a Johnson under center for Salem. Both very seasoned coaches that are going to bring a lot to the table. Coach Cusick, probably one of the more respected coaches in the area. He's been doing it for a very long time. I don't want to put an exact number out there because I'm not sure the exact number of years he's been doing it. I just know it's been a very good tenure at Crestview. They're going to be both well-coached teams. Not a lot of self-inflicted wounds. Should be a pretty clean football game.
It should be, and I think it'll be a fun football game as well between these two teams because, honestly, like I said at the beginning, we don't know what to expect from either of these teams because Crestview losing a decent amount from last year. And I mean, looking at Salem, not really losing a whole lot, losing a couple of big names that we said that they're going to need to look to replace, but for the most part, returning a majority of their starters on both ends of the ball. And I think that's going to be huge for the Quakers. And of course, just the quarterback play on both sides is going to be so much fun, and how the defenses are going to have to react to try to contain or at least try to prevent some scores being put up against them from two really good quarterbacks.
And here's some good news for everyone that's going out to football games today. The forecast brought to you by our friends at Storm Tracker 21 looks pretty good for kickoff time. 7 o'clock, 79 degrees and cloudy, but no rain in the forecast. There's a little bit of rain here at 2 and 3. Slight chance today for rain at those hours, but kickoff slated at 7 o'clock. Like I said, 79 and cloudy. That's pretty good conditions. No monsoons like last year's week 1.
Yeah, you just hope so, because I mean, you want to see these quarterbacks throw the ball, because that's going to be the highlight of the whole show, is these two throwing the football, in both Johnson and Cusick. And I mean, you hope rain stays off so that way these two are throwing the ball more, because if they're throwing the ball, it's going to be a very fun game to watch.
Well, that makes me really think about how important Crestview's defensive line is going to be. They always have a really good defensive line. Props to their D-line coach. They're always really well prepared for a game, and they're going to be asked to contain a Jackson Johnson that does a lot outside the pocket. So I think Crestview's defensive line might be the most important unit of the day for the Rebels' victory if they're going to win.
I think so as well. And I mean, you talk about everyone that they lost, and we mentioned it in our preview, and we talked about Babick and Briarley too, and some really big names at defensive line, some big names like Hardenbrook, a linebacker that they lost. That's gonna be holes to fill for Crestview. The big name, though, Cameron Dickey, is their sole senior on that defensive line that I know of, and he's going to be, I think, the unquestioned leader again. And you need those guys to lean on. I mean, he's still one of those very effective guys that's going to be an edge rusher. He's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to stop a lot of those outside runs if you don't get a blocker on him. So he's going to be effective too on this defense. It's how many of these younger guys are going to take to the way he plays and the way this Crestview team played last year? And are these younger guys that we don't know the names of right now going to be able to fill the holes of all those seniors from last year?
And then on the other side, Salem's defense, a very good secondary with X-Line as a defensive back, Johnson as a defensive back, very experienced. It's going to be, hard pressed to find some wide open receivers for Cusick. He might have to make some tight window throws.
And you might have to see them try to run the ball a little bit more if they can, because of the defensive back play of Salem being so deep. I mean, you're talking, I think, 4 or 5 guys that can realistically play defensive back at a high quality varsity level on that Salem team. So that's very daunting when you go into a game like that thinking you want to pass, because there's a lot of guys that if you're not careful, some turnovers are going to creep up on you, and they can turn the game over real quickly if you're not careful. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing is if you are going into Salem, if you're Crestview and you're throwing the ball, and I understand you're going to need to run the ball though too. You're going to need to run the ball, establish that run a little bit, because just like we talked about other way with Poland needing to throw the ball, so that way you're not expecting just the run. It's the same thing, I think, for Crestview. You're going to need to run the ball a little bit as well. But the biggest thing is, I think you need to limit turnovers when you pass. And you got to make sure that the turnover margin and the turnover differential is in your favor, or at least even, because I think if you start favoring it Salem's way, you're going to be looking at a very steep hole to try to climb out of against the Quakers.
This is a big game for Crestview as far as playoff implications. Salem Division 4, Crestview wins are going to get a lot of computer points for that. And in a Division 5 that we talked about in this region, a lot of teams vying for a playoff spot. I know it's extended to 16 games. I still think they're going to be contentious, and I don't think we're going to see 3 and 7 get into the playoffs, or 4 and 6 will be sweating. So, all the computer points you can get help. Crestview playing up a division tonight, going to be important for the Rebels to win this game and pad their computer points a little bit.
And of course, too, on the other side, Salem can't really afford to lose to too many of those teams that are down a division if you want those computer points at the end of the season that do make up the difference in seeding. So this is a huge game for Salem, needing to kind of win against that lower division opponent, so that way they don't really lose anything computer points wise with a loss like that.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I think the first quarter is going to be really important, which team sets the tempo. And it might be, in a game one atmosphere, who scores first and who gives the butterflies off their stomach. It's going to be, week one, all these matchups, I think whoever scores first has a distinct advantage, because week one, you're going to see a lot of pressure be put on teams if they go down early.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think this is a prime example of a game where these two teams can't afford to really dig themselves a hole early on, because I think if they dig themselves a hole early on, you might see the deciding factor of a game happen in the first half rather than the second, because both of these teams have the capability. If you start letting one of them get the momentum, they could take that baton and they could run full force with it and start piling it on you. And then that 10-point lead becomes a 20-point lead, becomes a 30-point lead. And then all of a sudden it's the end of the game and you don't know what happened.
Here's Coach Seidel saying R17 is loaded. I have to be clued in. That's going over my head on R17.
Was there talking? I thought someone was talking to you. I thought I heard someone saying the answer to you.
No idea. You might be hearing Brian in the background. He's on a phone call.
That's probably what it was. Region 17. That's what he's talking about. I got it now. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, Region 17 in Division 5 loaded as he's talking about. So Crestview could really use the computer points that would be benefited to them by beating a Division 4 team in Salem.
Especially with all those teams beating up on each other too, because a lot of those teams that are in Division 5 are also within the same conference, and they're going to be playing each other this season. So, you're going to be beating up on each other. So you're going to all have some wins and losses on your record. The important thing is you got to get those wins. They got to be big wins though.
All right. Like we did with Poland and Canfield, pick one player from each team that you're really watching tonight when you're talking about Crestview and Salem.
For Crestview, I think it's easy for me. It's going to be the play of Cusick, and that's only because offensively, everything that was lost on offense, you still have the guy that has the ball in his hand most of the time that makes the decisions behind center, and that's the most important thing, is getting Cusick back. You have Cusick, the coach, and Cusick, the quarterback. So you know that they're going to be on the same page. You know they've been talking all summer long going into his senior year. Expect him to have a big year, but he's going to have to be able to bring some guys up that we don't know the names of right now on Crestview's team. And we're going to know the names of some of these new offensive weapons, because you expect Cusick to be able to create some new offensive weapons and some guys to come along within this system that has been designed so well over there in Crestview. But I think definitely the play of Cusick and seeing how he plays without all of his weapons around him, and if he can still go out there and get a win against a up division opponent against the Quakers.
What about in Salem's case?
In Salem, I'm looking at defensively. I'm looking at the play of X-Line, defensive back. One of the seniors in the secondary. We talked about how good that secondary is. Some good other young secondary players that are there too. But he's going to be the unquestioned, I think, leader of that defensive secondary. And he's going to be the huge part of what's trying to stop, I think, Cusick. And he's going to be on one of the big weapons. And we talk about Yerke still being there. You almost expect him to be covering Yerke or being on Yerke in some coverages, at least most of the time. I would figure they're going to try to put X-Line on Yerke at least sometimes, being the big weapon over there in Crestview. But I definitely think the biggest defensive key for Salem going into this game is the play of X-Line being your senior defensive back of that very good defensive back squad. He needs to be sharp, and he needs to be containing some of the passing game of Crestview.
You know, when I look at this, I'll continue the trend for now, taking, you know, the opposite side of the field that you did. I don't know how long this is going to last, but for Crestview, I'm looking at Dickey on that defensive line. I think their defensive line is going to be very important tonight against Salem, and he's the lone returner. He's going to be big. His leadership is going to be big, and Crestview's going to have to ask a lot from him tonight. And I'm going to go with X-Line too, but the caveat is, I'm going with his play on the offensive side, how much the Quakers can get him the ball in space, use his dynamic speed, his athleticism to create some big plays, 20-plus yards, and really extend that Crestview defense. The secondary is going to be tested, and X-Line is going to be able to stretch it.
I absolutely agree. And you got to remember, too, this is a Crestview defense that was one of the best. I think it was the best in the area last year overall. So this is a Crestview defense that lost a lot, and what they got in the younger players, are they able to replicate some of that same success or get close to it, is going to be the big question mark, I think, going into the season. And no, it's not going to be answered week one, but we are going to get a good preview of what both these teams are going to be looking like going into week one. As right now, the big question mark in Crestview, can they repeat after everything they lost? And for Salem, are they going to take that next big step in their program with a very good junior quarterback that had a tremendous sophomore season?
Kickoff is slated for 7 o'clock in Crestview. Matt and Jared have the call. You can catch it on ysnlive.com for free. And then you can go to the live games tab, ysnlive.com/live, and find all the games that we have on the network there. And you can enjoy the show. Let's move on to another game going on tonight in Howland versus Niles. Very interesting showdown between two teams that are looking to improve the results from what they had last year.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I mean, these are two teams too. Howland, we already know size wise and how much they're going to have the team and how much they're going to have on both the lines, and size is going to be impressive. But yeah, Howland, we talked about, they were 5-4 last year. So are they going to take that next big step? I think it comes down to just finishing offensive drives, because Howland was one of those teams. They racked up offensive yards, I think almost in the neighborhood of 400 per game. I think it was in the 390s actually. But the problem was they were only averaging about 21 points on offense. So it's about finishing those offensive drives and finishing it with touchdowns. They lost some guys, but they got some guys back. We already talked about the big one being Berman not having that at quarterback. But I think what you got there in Howland, there's some tremendous athletes there that I think are going to really help this this team as far as offense is concerned. I know they were talking about quarterback, but I think it's Luka Masucci that they went with, and he is one of those guys that's going to be a fantastic athlete, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that he'll be able to do both. He'll be able to break out of the pocket and definitely run. I'm curious to see what he can do throwing wise. From what I've heard, he can throw the ball a little bit too. So being able to mix both of those in is going to be huge, I think, this week for the Tigers against that Niles defense. And I think, honestly, that Niles defense is just going to be – it's going to be an interesting turn of events because, again, they were the same thing. They were 5-4 last year, so both of these teams finished right around the same. And it's kind of, are these two teams going to make that next step? And Niles was one of those teams that was pretty good, mid-20s. I think they allowed defensively last year as far as points were concerned, but they're returning a decent amount. And we talked about those two defensive backs in our preview, and Colton Christopher and Noah Durr, that are going to be huge. Those are the two senior defensive backs, and I think that's going to be big. With a new quarterback in Masucci being in Howland that's there, having those two defensive backs try to scare him off of the pass and force Howland one way on offense. And if you could force Howland to be one-dimensional on offense, Niles has a great chance at winning this game.
And those secondary players are going to be so big because with Niles, the one thing you have to talk about, there's no more Zach Leonard. I don't think they want to get into a shootout tonight. I don't know if they have enough confidence in a new quarterback to get into a running gun shootout with Howland. So the times they could stop the pass game and slow down the Tigers and make this as low scoring as possible, I think benefits the Dragons.
I think so as well. And I mean, honestly, on offense, you're talking about it. Both these teams losing their quarterbacks from last year. Both of them are bringing in a new quarterback in the system. And we talk about the big play of Niles and having those two senior defensive backs. That's going to be huge in trying to get in the head of a new quarterback in Masucci over in Howland. But of course, now Niles trying to get a new quarterback in there. And I think what they were bringing in was Hoffman. That's going to be the new quarterback. Andrew Hoffman, I think is going to be the quarterback going into this year for them. And I mean, coming in as a senior, so coming in with seniority, he's going to be able to step right into that leadership role. And I think that's kind of what's nice in the case for Niles is that you have that senior that's able to step right in. But then again, you look at Masucci also a senior. So you're looking at a couple of seniors that are stepping into first-year quarterback roles. You don't know what's going to happen because both these guys in their senior year, and we've seen plenty of senior year quarterbacks go in for 1 year and have a pretty darn good 1 year and get some college looks. And you know how that works, Anthony. So you never know with a senior quarterback that's starting their first year. And it's going to be a very fun game tonight.
For Hoffman, I mean, he's stepping into some big shoes. Zach Leonard, one of the big names in the area last year. I think he's just got to get this mentality that he's not Zach Leonard. He's not Zach Leonard's replacement. Go out there and be Andrew Hoffman and do your job, be what you can be for the Dragons. I think sometimes when you replace someone as important and as electric as a Zach Leonard was, you can kind of get caught up in trying to replace him and trying to do the things he could and trying to force plays downfield because Zach Leonard did it, and you have to be what Zach Leonard was to the team. As long as Hoffman kind of stays away from that mindset, I think his senior leadership will be fine. He definitely has to respect in the locker room as a senior, which is something you have to have as a quarterback. He's going to command his presence in the huddle, and he's going to have those kids playing for him. So as long as he stays away from that mindset where I have to be Zach Leonard or I have to do what Zach Leonard could do, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, and I think both these quarterbacks are going to come in with chips on their shoulder too, because they're coming in senior year. They are getting starting time, significant starting time, but it's going to be a one and done scenario for them in high school. So they're going to have to make the most out of this senior year. And I think both of them are going to be ready to make the most out of their senior year. Who's going to take the next big step? Both these teams 5-4 last year, right around the middle of the pack. Both want to be in the next level and competing deeply in the playoffs. And this is a huge game for both teams, I think, tonight, Niles and Howland.
I don't think either of these teams are getting talked about enough when it comes to what they can do in the postseason.
I don't think so either. And I think both of them are going to be tremendously deep.
Especially because both these teams' strength right now has to be their defense. And we know the old adage, it's a cliche. defense wins championships, offense sells tickets. Both these defenses come back very strong. And their offense are going to have to try to figure some things out. New quarterback, who's going to be the scoring, who's going to be the weapons. But their defense is solid. And with a solid defense, and if they both take care of business on defense, their offense will have that room to kind of find out who their rhythm guys are and who they are, find an identity, because their defense is going to be holding people down.
I mean, both these teams are so evenly matched too from last year. Like, you look at the numbers from last year and compare it to but between both teams, the numbers from last year, and it's so similar. And looking at this matchup, I mean, these teams are so evenly matched. This is going to be such a great game, and both of them returning pretty much the same too. You say on defense as well as offense, and both of them pretty much in the same boat as far as what they lost and what they're doing, trying to replace or trying to create a new offense around a completely new quarterback. So I think it's going to be a fun game, and it's a game where you really just don't know what to expect tonight. And I think that's part of the intrigue of Niles and Howland.
I'll tell you what I expect. I expect a low scoring, punch 'em, physical game. Like Canfield, Poland. I would be shocked if this game gets out of the 20s.
It very well might not. And I mean, honestly, we know the size usually of the lines of both of these teams and how they're going to be battling in the trenches as well. So it could be a very low scoring, rough and tough game. And you're very right that it end score can definitely be below 20s, or you might even see a below combined 40 points in the game.
When you talk about players to watch from each team, one from Howland, one from Niles, who do you think are the players to keep an eye on?
All right, for Niles, I'm gonna say you could pick either of those defensive backs, I think, and Noah Durr and Colton Christopher. I'm gonna go with Colton Christopher though as one of the other defensive backs, because we know what Noah Durr is going to be covering too. I think he's usually on the primary offensive weapon, so usually he's on the number one receiver. I'm pretty sure. Christopher, I think, is usually on the other guy, or he usually is covering the slot. But I mean, this is a guy too that he's going to need to contain that secondary weapon too, because there's other weapons that is over there in Howland as well that they can throw to. So I think it's going to be important too, especially if you're covering any of those checkdowns or if you're covering any of those screen passes too, that you can suspect Howland's probably going to do, especially with a new quarterback under center, trying to get some confidence built up. You usually like to do those little checkdowns and you like to do some screen passing. And I think that's going to be huge for Niles to be aware on that. And I think it's up to those two defensive backs to definitely make sure those guys don't get by him and don't allow any breakaway scores. Noah Durr is going to be huge, but I think Colton Christopher is the guy I'm looking at tonight.
I'm going to go straight up both quarterbacks, Hoffman and Masucci. They're both stepping into their senior year. They're both replacing quarterbacks of old. Whoever can step up and have the better day, I think, is going to win. It's going to just come down to quarterback play, like flat out. Whoever takes care of the ball, whoever can deal with first start jitters the best, whoever can command respect from their team and lead the team the best. I think I really do. It's going to come down to what quarterback plays better tonight.
And you're going quarterbacks. I'm going defensive backs because I'm going Matt Woolmer on the other side for Howland, because I think just the same way I feel about Niles, I'm going to feel about Howland too. You're going to need to get that new quarterback a little bit uncomfortable. And I mean, they're bringing back their two senior leaders are a linebacker and a defensive back. Woolmer is the defensive back, and I think it's going to be huge as far as trying to shut down any of the passing game and not really let Niles get comfortable in the passing game. I think it's going to be huge for Woolmer tonight to make sure they don't get that flow and that rhythm in the passing game, and you try to get them on their heels and uncomfortable.
Niles and Howland set to kick off at 7 o'clock from the Dragon's Den in Niles. Alec and Matt will have the call on ysnlive.com. Once again, go to ysnlive.com/live to find that game and the other 3 games on the network tonight, all for free as we kick off week 1 on a Thursday night. We'll take a quick timeout, be back with our last preview of Ursuline versus Bishop Hartley, and some more fun stuff on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Hi, everyone. This is DJ Yoakley with
Hubbard Chevrolet. Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Bad credit, no problem. I can get you approved for a low-interest loan and maybe even a low-payment lease on a new car at the #1 Chevy dealership in Trumbull County for 3 years in a row. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved or come see me, Tony Page, to get a new vehicle today. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
When Mother Nature starts flexing her muscles, make sure you're prepared for comfort. For over a decade, NDC Heating and Cooling has been sending their team of experienced, certified, and knowledgeable technicians to service the area. NDC services all makes and models and carries a wide selection of furnaces, air conditioners, and indoor air quality products. To schedule an appointment, call 330-457-2562. That's 330-457-2562. For all your residential and commercial heating and cooling needs in Columbiana or Mahoning counties, call NDC Heating and Cooling in New Waterford, Ohio, where our thermostat is always set on quality.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sudman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you alongside Ty Bartow. I want to remind everybody watching that you can comment. They are live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. The comments will appear. We'll pop them up. We'll talk about them. We love to interact with our fans. Also, for the last hour of the show, well, actually less than an hour, actually, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline is open. 330-886-0813 is the number to call. We'd love to hear from you. Ty, we got one more game to preview tonight. Bishop Hartley comes into Youngstown and squares off with the Irish. We know that Bishop Hartley was an also regional runner-up last year in Division III. Talk a little bit more about what Ursuline fans should expect from, I believe, the Hawks, I think?
Yeah, Bishop Hartley Hawks. And They are definitely a team that has not been shy to success over the years. Brad Birchfield there, 138 wins there, only 32 losses in 14 years as a head coach with Bishop Hartley. 32 losses in 14 years, folks. Do the math right. Yeah, that's less than 3 losses per year. So a pretty successful team over there in Hartley. Some of those big names to watch out for. I think the biggest part is 6-4 last year, played a tough schedule, play a very tough schedule again this year, returning their quarterback, Peyton Underwood. And that's going to be a huge matchup too with Brady Shannon and Peyton Underwood, both under center. This is going to be a fun matchup between quarterback play. Some other big players too on offense to watch. Trevon Saunders is going to be fun to watch too. Keep his name circled. Richard Kenny, Niall Johnson, Daniel Tucson too. Those are all big names to watch too, I think, on offense. And same thing on defense. Tucson playing both ways. Also, Anthony Murphy, Deontay Hubbard, and Sherrod Bowens too are also some big names on defense to look out for. So this is a team that, they've been successful over the past few years, and they're definitely a team that is going to look to have the same success. So Ursuline going to have their work cut out for them, but this was an offense that wasn't shy to success, and this is an offense that, especially the way it ended last year, and as a team collectively, the way their season ended last year, they have a sour taste in their mouth, and they want to come into this season, and I expect them to come into the season red hot, especially since they're returning a ton, and I mean a ton on offense. Especially, we said most of their offensive line, I think 4 offensive line starters are coming back. Brady Shannon, of course, his senior year quarterback, and of course the weapons they have. Jakylan Irving is one of the big ones that we know, and Dean Boyd, of course. We know the weapons, and if you want to know the preview, we have that preview up. But for this game, I think this is going to be huge for Brady Shannon to be able to establish that offense, get Jakylan Irving going, get Dean Boyd going in the passing game as a tight end a little bit too. You need to get that passing game going, and I think you need to get into a flow, into a rhythm early against Hartley, because Hartley's one of those teams that is just like Ursuline, and we know and we remember how Ursuline plays. And Ursuline is one of those teams that are going to go in, if they get the ball first, they're punching you in the mouth. They get defense, they want to get the ball back, punch you in the mouth real quick, and start scoring, and they want to put up 2-3 scores on you in a matter of seconds. Hartley is a team that's going to do the same exact thing. So this is a team of 2 similar teams that are going to be going at it, and 2 teams that are going to want to put up multiple scores on each other very quickly and try to put the other one in a hole.
Unlike some of the other games we talked about, you could very easily see this game going above 20 points for a final score. Both offenses electric. Obviously, the teams very successful. Both teams were runners up last year. Hartley in Division 3, Ursuline in Division 4. Hartley has state championships in Division 4. Ursuline has state championships in Division 5. So they're both up from what their historic runs were at. And it's going to be a fun ride of 2 high-flying offenses, 2 quarterbacks that come back and are very experienced, very highly respected. Buckle up your seatbelts and enjoy it, because we could be seeing 35, 38, 41 points apiece tonight.
Very well could. And I mean, like we said, these are 2 teams that their favorite score is the next one, and they're not finished scoring until they get the next one. And that's exactly how they're going to play this game. And so don't be too concerned though. And this is a different take than what we normally say for football games, right? And we wouldn't say this in a Canfield Poland matchup or certainly not a Niles Howland matchup now, but you aren't too concerned if you get down by 10 to 14 points because of how explosive the other offense is. And that goes for if you are a defense, you're not confident with a 10 to 14 point lead on the other one because of how explosive the other offense is. So this is going to be a game where you're going to be on your heels the whole game, I feel like, because these are 2 teams that can easily start putting points up on each other in rapid fire succession.
A game that fans should not tune out of just because it's 14-0, 21-0. These teams can score in a hurry, and they can score in a heartbeat. It means the teams can come back pretty quick.
Especially too, and especially when all it takes in high school is 1 defensive stop or 1 turnover, and that means 14 points for either of these teams. So you could have a real quick turnaround. All it takes is that 1 bad play, that 1 turnover, or that one play, that one down where you couldn't convert, and it's fourth and you have to punt now. Don't give either one of these teams that chance, because if you give them that chance, they are going to make you pay. And that's why I think this is going to be a fun game, and one you're going to have to watch until the very end, because it's going to be one I think that's going to be very fun and back and forth.
Look, no secret, these defenses are going to have their hands full, but on Ursuline's side, they still have a big defensive front that's going to be heard from this year.
And I think that's going to be a huge advantage in Ursuline's favor, is bringing back a majority of their defensive line and a significant amount of defensive backs too. I think 3 returning defensive backs from the starters, and I think 2 or 3 defensive linemen are returning as well. So you have a very good front defense. You got your very good front 3 defense, and you got a very good secondary unit that's going to bode very well against playing a team such as Hartley, who's going to be passing the ball. You presume passing the ball a lot, that you're going to have that defensive line to try to contain Underwood and the defensive backs to try to contain the passing game. Problem is that Hartley can also run the ball, so you're going to have to watch. And I think the linebacker play of Ursuline is going to be huge. And the one linebacker that I can immediately think of that is on Ursuline's defense is going to be John Edmonds. And I think it's going to be huge for John Edmonds being that seniority linebacker that is going to be in that position for Ursuline. He's going to be huge in stopping that run game, I think, of Hartley, because Hartley can turn to the run game. They usually have phenomenal athletes there anyway that they have that come up as very tremendously good, talented running backs. So expect them to have another one loaded and in the chamber ready to burst out of the scene this season. So I think it's going to be up to Edmonds to contain that and be a bulletproof vest for that Ursuline defense.
I like that. The Kevlar linebacker right there might have to turn into the headline for his player profile when we eventually interview him.
The bulletproof defense.
Bulletproof vest. That's just going to be his nickname, the vest. Get your vest ready.
But this is going to be one of those matchups, though, that I think the defense is going to be up to big questions. And I think you're right in what the Ursuline is returning. I think they're returning a little bit more than what Hartley's returned on defense.
Yes.
Hartley's still returning significant players, but Ursuline definitely returning more significant players.
I think Ursuline's defense is bigger. They're strong, and they're going to win the trenches line of scrimmage. Now, with Hartley's offensive firepower, that doesn't always mean that you're going to stop them, because obviously Underwood can just run around and throw the ball all day. They have kind of a Kansas City Chiefs-esque offensive scheme where it's just, hey, you want to get through to the pocket? That's cool. Our quarterback can just run to the right and throw a ball, 50 yards down the field, no problem. But at the same time, I think the defensive line in the front of Ursuline is going to give Hartley some problems.
I think it will too, and I think that's going to be up to that defensive line to get pressure on that quarterback, get pressure on Underwood, and make him feel your presence early, because if he doesn't, and if the offensive line is containing you and you're not getting much pressure on him, 2 seconds is too much. 2-3 seconds is too much for Underwood, and he's going to start making you pay. But the good thing is you have what we call the insurance card and defensive backs over there in Ursuline and Ja'Kylan Irving. That's going to be in your secondary. That's going to definitely be helping you out. But it's going to be up to them as well. If the defensive line can't get pressure, it's up to that secondary then to try to limit those big passes from Hartley from happening.
By the way, Ja'Kylan Irving is a straight up ball hawk. I mean, the guy just finds the ball. Sometimes he'll be on the other end of the field, and then all of a sudden you'll see him run into the screen and knock a ball down. And you'll just be like, where did this kid come from? I mean, he's got a nose for the ball, which is something you have to do as a defensive back.
With both him, and then you have Dean Boyd too, also at the defensive back. So you got a couple of seniors there too that is going to be huge.
Boyd has a different advantage on defense. He's tall. He's got a frame for a great defensive back. He can go up and get some interceptions himself, almost like he's a wide receiver.
Yeah,
and he is a wide receiver, obviously.
Yeah, but these are good teams. These are both good teams with good defenses, and I do think Ursuline might have a slight advantage in the defensive department. It's all about, though, I think they are going to need to get pressure on Underwood, and if they can't, it's up to that secondary to contain it from there.
All right, so since Hartley is not one of our YSN schools, let's just pick 2 players from Ursuline to watch out for tonight in their keys to victory.
For me personally, I'm gonna just go ahead and pick out the play I talked about him. I'm gonna say John Edmonds again. I think the linebacker play of him is gonna be huge because he's that senior leader at linebacker. He's a tackling machine. He can get pressure on the quarterback. He can spy running backs out of the backfield. He's gonna be huge in limiting that run game, but he's also gonna be huge as being that extra piece when they're going blitzing for the quarterback to get pressure on Underwood. And Edmonds, his sole job, I think, is going to just be to disrupt everything. We talk about like the Last Dance documentary, the Dennis Rodman interview where he said my whole job was to bleep stuff up. Yeah, that's pretty much what Edmonds' role is on this team right now, to go in face Hartley and just mess some stuff up.
Well, I know it's going to be boring and it's going to be not exactly a unique pick, but I'm going to go with Brady Shannon. I mean, it starts and ends with him, right? And on the offensive side, everyone's excited about what he's going to do this year. So obviously, he's going to be a player to watch.
I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, we know what he's doing in baseball. We know what he can do in basketball, and we know what he does in football too. Tremendous athlete all around is Brady Shannon. I mean, the guy to watch for. And hey, when you're ranked number 1 overall in that division, you have eyes on you for a reason. And he's the motor that makes everything go. And I think it's fair to say that Brady Shannon is the player to watch out for on offense, because he's going to be the one that's going to need to keep up with Hartley. When Hartley puts up those scores, he's going to need to be the guy that responds with it, because we know Ursuline, they can run the ball a little bit, but we know they're going to be passing the ball, and it's going to be up to Shannon to get the game tied or get the game back in Ursuline's favor when they go back and forth.
What about player number 2 for Ursuline on your end?
For me, I'll go ahead and go right on offense and defense. I'll go both ways, and I'm just going to say Ja'Kylan Irving and just say he's going to be huge both ways. We said defensive back-wise, he's going to be huge on defense. He has so much speed. He's incredible speed-wise. He's a bullet. And then you talk about wide receiver, that's exactly the same thing. You could run him in streak routes, and you got to watch out if you're Hartley, because if this guy gets by you, it's going to be Shannon to Irving for 6 all day, all night long. So you're going to have to watch out, because Irving has some incredible speed, and he has some burners where if he turns on the jets, he's pretty much beating any defensive back he wants.
I'll go the same route in DB/wide receiver Dean Boyd for a little bit of a different reason, though, because I think Dean Boyd, while Irving is going to be important on stretching the defense and making those long routes, which Boyd can, but I think Boyd's going to really come up huge in the red zone. I mean, you talk about having that frame as a DB in a red zone makes fade routes that much harder, makes throwing to the end zone with that tight space that much harder. And on the opposite side, it'll make it that much easier for Brady Shannon to make throws in the red zone. So I look for Dean Boyd to have at least 2 scores tonight in the red zone for Ursuline.
A speedy wide receiver, a big playmaking tight end, and a quarterback that could break out of the pocket and pass. Where's Anthony seen this before? But I think Ursuline on all fronts is going to be good in that. Yeah, we want to talk about 3-headed monsters. Latonia, excuse me, LeBray. We talked with Coach Armenia about his 3-headed monster. It's the same thing, I think, in Ursuline. You look at Shannon, you look at Irving, you look at Boyd. They're going to be huge on offense for the Irish, and I think that's going to be the big key, I think, on offense going forward tonight against Hartley.
Let the record show that I did not bring up Kansas City, because sometimes I get criticized for bringing everything back to my teams. Did not do it. Ty opened that gate.
I did it for you, Anthony, so that way you didn't have to, because we already knew you were going to.
Didn't do it. I did it. So now I can
took the baton out of your hand before you take it from me.
It's a very Kansas City-esque offense. Both these offenses are, because they have multiple weapons on the skills spot. They have a quarterback that can escape, and they're tough to stop.
Yeah, they are, and it's going to be a fun matchup. And we talk about how if you like defense and you like defensive games, I think Canfield Poland is going to be your speed. If you want to get a game where you don't know what's going to happen, two teams that are rebuilding programs and 2 teams that were very solid last year in Niles and Howland, go watch that game. I think that's going to be fun. If you want 2 teams that are going to be explosive, though, just absolutely dynamic on offense, check this one out. And if you want to see a team between two good quarterbacks and some good defenses, I mean, I think Cusick and Johnson is going to be another show to watch. I think for them respectively, it's going to be them. And I think that also the quarterback play too of Shannon and Underwood with Hartley and Urson is going to be tremendously fun too. So I think if you want offense, those might be the games you want to look in. And if you want defense, look at Niles Howland and look at Canfield Poland tonight, because I think those are going to be your defensive games.
Welcome to week 1, everybody. It is officially on. DJ and the boys have left the studio. They're ready to start Power Hour in about a half an hour live from Youngstown State University. That game, by the way, Ursuline versus Bishop Hartley, will be kicking off at 7 o'clock. And guess who's on the call? Our CEO, boss, DJ Yoakley and Steve Leslie, the dynamic dynamic duo on the call tonight for Ursuline versus Hartley. And hey, yeah, I think you might have DJ. Well, one thing, if you've ever watched Steve do a game, because sometimes they point the camera towards themselves, Steve does not like to sit. Like I guarantee you, by halftime, Steve will be pacing.
Yeah, he does not like to sit at all, and I know that from Bob Seton Park because I just remember always calling games. And Steve,
yeah. What are you eating?
Oh, this is a payday. No, I just remember at Bob Seton Park being and calling games down there. I remember Steve always just be standing up. He'd be sitting next to you, and all of a sudden he's just standing up. And I was always just glare over, and there's Steve just standing right there next to me. And I glare over again. He's just pacing behind the table. I glare over again. He's standing over here. I love Steve. He's funny, and I can't even imagine him with a headset on. That's without a headset on.
Like
I can't imagine trying to chain Steve Leslie with a headset.
That's going to be on the shoulders of DJ Yoakley, not us, which we were very happy about. I didn't realize that we were allowed to have snacks during the show.
Oh, you didn't realize that? I'm
I
sorry.
thought that was like
I'm sorry you didn't get the memo.
The last host, who will not be named, was not afraid to snack during the show. Sometimes not even on food.
Don't worry, I'm not going to be grabbing a whole pizza and shouting.
I'm gonna see Ty like week 4 of Running Point just get up out of nowhere and just waddle to the fridge. Bring back
You can't tell me if you had a payday sitting there right next to you, you wouldn't grab that payday.
Bring back a whole pizza box. And, well, I think that Canfield's gonna.
Oh my God! Now who's burning bridges now?
Yeah, boom.
Who's setting fire? Oh my God!
Ty, don't turn into that, please.
We're not turning into that.
It's a steady slope. We don't want you to go that route. It's all right.
But nevertheless, though, I mean, we got both DJ and DJ Yoakley and Steve Leslie on the call tonight. I mean, great call for tonight's game.
To bring us back on track a little bit. Good job.
But for Hartley and Ursuline. And I mean, just great games all around. I mean, check them all out too. You said week 1, we're doing it completely free. So, I mean, you got 4 games to check out completely free of charge that are going to be all fun in their own right and in their own unique way. They're going to have their own intrigue and entertaining aspects to them. So I definitely think you should check out these 4 games on the docket tonight for the network.
So to recap, Ursuline versus Hartley, 7 o'clock from YSU. DJ Yoakley and Steve Leslie will be on the call. Excuse me. Howland versus Niles. That will be at Niles at 7 o'clock. And that one will be Alec and Matt on the call. Salem at Crestview will be at 7 o'clock. And Matt and Jared, our Salem guys, will be on the call there. And then Canfield at Poland. And guess what? It's our good friend Richie Giuliano teaming up with Gary Niddle, the Canfield baseball coach, calling that one as well. So we have top-notch announcers, top-notch floor-to-floor coverage. We got you covered until kickoff on YSN because when we're done, Power Hour will be 3 to 4. At 5 o'clock starts YSN Primetime live from YSU. They're going to preview Ursuline versus Hartley. They're going to probably have maybe Coach Reardon. They're definitely going to have some experts from Ursuline to come on and preview Ursuline's week 1 matchup. They're going to talk about the other teams. It's going to be very fun. And then, of course, 7 o'clock is when the party starts. And it's just a great appetizer for tomorrow. And we have games out the wazoo. I don't even know what a wazoo is, but we got games coming out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, we're taking you here. I mean, power hour from 3 to 4, and then you get a little hour to go grab some food, go grab a small snack. I got my payday, so yeah, I got my payday. So go grab a payday in the hour that you got before 5 o'clock. Watch the preview to Ursuline and Hartley, and then 7 o'clock. You got a nice little, you said appetizer before we go to the buffet, an appetizer of 4 very good games and very good game 1 matchups for these 8 teams tonight that's on the docket. So I don't think you should shy away from tuning into any of them. And of course, afterwards too, I mean, we probably will have an interview or so, I'm sure, with a coach or two that'll be posted within after content wise. So I mean, we'll have you all through the night, and of course we know what Ackelson and them are going to be doing too with Friday night football, and we already know that's coming back, and it's in full swing now.
I as content director, I promise you, tonight will be exploding with content because we have football previews still to be posted. We have coaches' corners still to be posted. We have tonight's games. We have interviews after the games. We have everything that you could ever want from a football fan. We're going to be posting it. We're going to post as many previews as possible before tomorrow night. It's going to be like, keep an eye on ysnlive.com. I said it at the top. If you missed something, and obviously you can always go back to our YouTube page and hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified on all of our video notifications. But if you miss it and you're looking at the website, that thing's going to be gone off the homepage really quick.
Yeah, real quick. And I mean, you got to be keeping up with the homepage. And I mean, of course, go to the YouTube page too if you want to find any of those archives. But I mean, you're looking at content. You talk about out the wazoo because you're going into Friday night. We're going to take you to late at night with some late night interviews too after the game too. So it's going to take you to late night. You go to bed, get a nice night of rest before your very busy Friday day of football, because you're going to go Friday and all the way deep into that night. And then you got early morning volleyball to start the next Saturday, and then we're going right into football that night as well, as Jackson Milton is playing. So you have a football game on the docket as well. So
it's a lot. It's a lot, man. You're frozen. Oh no, we lost Ty. Maybe it was too many payday bars. His system could not take the consumption of the payday. When you talk about what's coming up on tonight, by the way, tune into all of our there we go. We just lost Ty for the show. Tune into all of our games, ysnlive.com/live, and that's where you will find all the games on the network tonight. Ty, you're back.
I don't know what just happened with all that, but we're back.
It was too much content, and it just completely wrecked your internet.
Yeah, they heard about all the content that was coming, and the internet was like, "We're not ready for all this."
Yeah, we weren't prepared.
Nobody's ready for YSN.
You know, a little programming note, by the way, we have not forgotten about volleyball, where we're going to continue our Division IV volleyball previews, but because of time constraints and because of obviously the football games being previewed tonight and the mini football games previewed tomorrow, along with 2 guests that we have scheduled tomorrow, we are going to move the rest of those volleyball previews right to Monday. And, you know, we had the conversation off the air. Kind of makes sense because Monday is when volleyball really gets started in high gear. A handful of teams start Saturday, but everyone will be started by Monday. So it makes a little bit of sense to finish our volleyball previews on the day where volleyball will be right on your docket right after our show.
At the very least, we could try to make sure we have previewed all the teams that are playing at least Saturday, so that way we have those teams.
We do.
Okay, so as long as we have that, I wasn't sure if we did or didn't. So we have all the teams that are previewed for Saturday.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
Now I haven't had the chance to look at every.
We will double check though and make sure that the teams that are playing Saturday at least are previewed. And if we did miss a team or two, we will ensure that we preview them in some way.
I will be at Crestview Saturday morning, JV starts at 10. We'll have the varsity game, which starts an hour and a half after that, depending on how the JV game goes. Live from Crestview, they take on Lakeview to open the season. I will be there. Don't worry, I'll have my coffee ready.
It'll be a great game too. So I mean, tune into that.
In my case, I'll have my Mountain Dew ready. I'm not a coffee drinker. I get my caffeine with Mountain Dew.
Yeah, there you go.
I know it's bad
Anthony
for
with
me,
his
but-
morning cup of dew.
Yeah, exactly. Forget a cup. Morning 2-liter.
A morning 2-liter of dew to get him going in the morning, and you'll see him bright and early Saturday morning as part of a full weekend of scheduled sports here on the network, and it's going to be a blast, I think, for any sports fan or sports watcher. If you're a fan or just a casual viewer of high school sports, this is a great weekend for you to break right into fall sports. Volleyball on the docket. We got football on the docket. We talk soccer, and we've been talking golf, interviews all the time. So, I mean, content for pretty much every fall sport up on the network, and more coming your way all throughout the fall sports season.
Yeah, and tomorrow, just to kind of preview what we will have tomorrow for you, outside of the football previews that we will have, football game previews of, I believe, 28 games. I haven't gone through, I think 28. I think 28, maybe 27 with the loss of Latonia and Sebring. But we will also have the girls' head coach at Fitch, and that is Samantha. I want to say this right. Marcio. I think I got it. I think it's Marcio. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I am. She'll come on at 12:30 to talk about Fitch girls soccer. We'll also have the Springfield girls soccer captains joining us at 1:30. So we'll talk to those two group of people, and we'll also preview all the football games on the network tomorrow as well.
We'll have to preview these football games in rapid fire succession, so might not be able to go into as much depth and detail as these four, but we will be previewing them in rapid fire succession as we can.
If we went into as much coverage as we did for these four, we might have like a 7-hour running point tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, and these four, it was just special. They opened it up on Thursday, and I mean, that would go for any team too. And I mean, we give them a little bit more attention just because it's special, because they are opening up the football season in the area. So we gave a little bit of extra TLC to these teams, but don't worry, because we will still give the good amount of attention to the rest of the teams on the docket for tomorrow.
All right, so 21 games tomorrow. I believe I counted that right. Geez, I hope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 21, and then 4 tonight, and 1 on Saturday. So that's a total of 26 games over. And it before yesterday we were scheduled for 27. Obviously, if you didn't hear, I don't know where you've been. I don't know why you've been off of YSN for all day, but if you didn't hear, Latonia and Sebring for tomorrow is canceled because of COVID-related situations going on there. So, but that is the only game so far that has been affected by COVID-19 for week 1.
And there's further story behind that too. And go check out the Power Hour released the other day too, because the guys talked with Coach Seidel about that too, and a great discussion they had on the Power Hour about that. So go check out the archive of Power Hour the other day, because they had a very good discussion with Seidel about it.
Yeah, and Coach Seidel was very transparent. We definitely appreciate the straight shooting of him. And we kind of felt bad because he kind of found out through social media. I mean, we were in the group chat saying, oh man, 1 game down for week 1, whatever. And he goes, who? He didn't know, and you kind of feel bad that he found out that way, but that's kind of the world we live in. Sometimes things break in social media before people that should know about them.
It's just unfortunate how it happened too. But like you said, I mean, Coach Seidel, very open and honest with it. And I mean, gave a very, very good, I think, interview, and they talked a very good discussion about it too on Power Hour the other day. So if you hadn't seen that episode of Power Hour, at least check out, I think, that discussion with that coach, because I think it was very good.
Friday, also want to remind everybody that not only will there be Running Point and Power Hour and all the games, Audible Call begins with Mike Ackelson in this studio. I'll be in here. If you've never been in the studio for Audible Call, maybe we'll set up like a little camera so everyone can see a behind the scenes look at what this studio looks like. It is a wild house, just scream out games and hope that the guy gets to them. We had, I think, that every week last year, we broke our touchdown record.
We're looking to break it again this year, and I
we're
mean,
adding a couple of more teams, so we're looking to break that record again this year.
Oh yeah, and we're looking to have a lot more games covered, a lot more teams covered. So gonna be a great Friday night, Saturday night for the next few weeks.
And then after the audible call, stick around because we have the Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard Show where we go over all the results. We also have a handful of coach interviews from winning teams. And we don't go off the air when the games are over. We stay on Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard Show, usually like 10 o'clock-ish. It's really determined by when the last game finishes most of the time. We try not to go too late, so if there's a game like in double overtime, we'll just put it live on the show. So we're not here until midnight, do it on the air until midnight. But at the same time, we try to schedule it where it starts when all the games are finished. So 9:30, 10-ish, Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard Show, also live on YSN, and all of that will also be live on our social media page for Audible Call and the Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard Show.
I mean, we own the weekend, but I'd say we are the kings of Friday. So, I mean, you wake up in the morning, right? You can watch some of our old content. We can watch some content that we posted on YouTube. You can watch some stuff on the page. You can watch some content, some previews. But then on Fridays, starting on your lunch break right there at noon, all the way until night, we got you from live show coverage back to back to back to back to back to back, all the way until late at night, late into your Friday night. So we got you covered from lunch all the way until late at night.
In the words of Megatron, here we are. Fight us now. We're here. Week 1 is here. We're happy about it. Want to also just give a quick shout out to WRS Health Advisors for being the sponsor of Audible Call for another year. We could not do any of the wonderful things that we do on Audible Call without the wonderful support of WRS and all of our sponsors on ysnlive.com. But we just have to give an extra shout out to WRS because they have been just such a huge supporter of YSN. They paid for last year's basketball season for all the fans, so that's why basketball was free because of WRS, and they are sponsoring the Audible Call this year. They've just been really stepping up huge for everyone at YSN. So if you ever see anyone from WRS out in public, out at one of your games, and you're a fan of YSN, you're a fan of the Audible Call, you're a fan of us being able to put games up for free, give them a handshake, give them a thank you, because we couldn't do any of it without the folks at WRS. So we want to give them a big shout out.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, if you know anything about WRS, you know Tommy Clem's voice from the commercial that is aired so much throughout our network. And we love to wave the WRS flag wide and proud everywhere we go, because they have been a huge, huge supporter and proponent of why we are able to do what we do and do it at a cost-efficient way for all of you, the community, to be able to see all these games. And we are able to do it at such a high level.
And they're well represented over there. They got Poland grads, Springfield grads, South Range grads working over there. So they are well represented. They love what we do. We love what they do. We just want to give like all the love in the world to WRS. I'm sure DJ will echo that in his shows coming up on today and tomorrow, leading up to Audible Call. But I just want from me personally just to give them a shout out, because I'm in the studio with Mike, and we couldn't do what we do without WRS. So want to finish the show on that note and say thank you to WRS. Want to say thank you to Coach Chris Emil from Cheney for joining us today, as well as Coach John Armini from LeBray. We thank them for their time a day before game day. We definitely appreciate the time that coaches can give us. Tomorrow on the show, once again, the Samantha, head coach of the girls soccer team at Fitch, Samantha, I'm going to say it wrong.
You're the one who backed yourself into the corner.
Yeah. Marassi and the Springfield girls soccer captains, along with the preview of all the games on the network tomorrow, 21 to be total. So until then, we're taking a 21-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 to 3. Mintai, have a wonderful evening, everybody. Power Hour next on YSN.